Hey, let's start the show.
It's December 13th, 2012. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith. Joining me today, Norman Chan, Wesley Fenlon.
Hello.
First off, before we get any further, Super Brothers, Blockheads, Photograph.
Blockheads.
Super Brothers.
Good choices all around.
Is there a bad choice? Really?
There's no bad choice there.
There's no bad choice. There are good arguments for each.
Exactly. First off...
housekeeping.
Okay.
Don't you have housekeeping for podcast feeds?
This one doesn't change.
I know, but to let people know.
Okay, that is a good point. If you like Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project, the podcast where we talk to Adam about things like Star Wars and books and shit you should buy for friends and family at holiday and food and all sorts of other stuff. They're great little podcasts. They're about 20 minutes long. I think the longest one has been 35 minutes or something like that. So if this is a
eminently
feast,
digestible.
yes, it is a bite-sized show. And you get to find out a little bit about how Adam works. We shoot him all over the place. Sometimes they're at M5. Sometimes they're at his shop. Sometimes they're at his house.
Little podcasts. What are the podcasts? The hors d'oeuvre equivalent of? They're not a bagel bite.
They're not an hors d'oeuvre really. They're more of they're a first course. They're a salad course, I think.
No.
Soup course.
That's a disservice, I think.
Maybe they're
call it a salad.
So if it's a 6-course Italian meal, maybe it's the pasta course. It's going to fill you up, give you a lot to think about.
I like pasta.
Yeah,
I think it's the fancy hors d'oeuvres.
You mean the amuse-bouche? The amuse-bouche is a single bite, though. That's like Roman Mars's.
It's the lamb
like
chop
5 minutes long
at a nice party. The
lamb chop on the where you just pick it up by the bone and you. That's kind of a Vegas thing, though.
It leaves your hands feeling a little greasy afterward.
What about really good chips
for.
and guacamole?
No, it's better than chips and guacamole.
It's 5-layer dip.
It is the 5-layer dip of podcasts. That's how I'm going to introduce it from now on.
There we go.
Welcome to Still Entitled, the Adam Savage Project, the 5-layer dip of podcasts.
You bring the chips, we bring the dip.
Yeah, we are the dip. New feeds. We relaunched the site yesterday, or day before yesterday for you guys. With that comes the ability to have multiple podcast feeds and a bunch of other stuff that we'll talk about in a minute, but multiple podcast feeds. So previously we were putting Still Untitled in this feed. This is only a test feed because it's what we had. We have now broken that off into its own feed. It's in the submission queue for the iTunes store now. I did that at the moment we were able to. And it usually takes between 2 and 5 days, depending on how backed up Apple is. So as soon as that happens, we'll definitely tell you on Twitter. We'll probably post something about it on the homepage. And we'll update the iTunes link on Still Untitled posts. But if you want to listen to Still Untitled, you can, of course, go to the site. You can press the play button. You can download a file directly there.
My goodness.
You can subscribe to an RSS feed. You will be able to click on an iTunes button and go to the iTunes store and subscribe there. Or you can just watch the video on YouTube or on the site. They're all in the same place now. It's not spread out all over. It's really straightforward, but you do have to resubscribe to Still Untitled if you want to continue listening to that.
Also, we encourage you, if you do like the show, to give it a review.
Please. Yeah, it's brand new. So it's not on iTunes probably by the time you listen to this, but as soon as it gets there, if you guys can give us some feedback, and don't give honest feedback. We don't want 5-star. I mean, if you like the show a lot, give us 5-star reviews, clearly. But don't blow sunshine up our ass because we like good feedback.
That's a premium service.
At this point, is Still Entitled just going to be the name you guys stick with, or are you still trying to just think of something real?
We still think that's really clever, Wes. What, you don't think that's clever? You don't think that's clever?
I like
2 out of 3 of us think that's pretty clever.
I like the...
Guess which one doesn't?
I like the Adam Savage Project as a name because it gives me a real Alan Parsons Project vibe. I think that's standalone.
I think by calling it the Adam Savage Project, I think it's a great name, but also then we now own that. So sucks if Adam wants to do something else and call that the Adam Savage Project.
You could just call it the real Adam Savage Project. And
the Ghostbusters, that shit?
Maybe Adam Savage's real project?
Here's the thing. Still Untitled. The reason that Still Untitled stuck, despite one of the 3 of us not really liking it very much, is it's open-ended. Like the whole point of this thing, when Adam sat down and was like, "Hey, what do you guys think about doing a podcast?" We were like, "Yeah, that sounds great." He wanted to do something that was open-ended and conversational, and not didn't want to have a specific format or anything like that. So at some point, we have a whole bunch of questions we've taken. I think probably the next show we record, unless something really interesting happens, will be a Q&A show.
Well, also.
And the idea is that there's nothing off topic.
It's true. It's about all topics, everything, and the subject matter is great, and the fact that it's a show about nothing and about everything is perfect. All the suggestions were not very good.
Well, there were some suggestions that were quite good, but there were
nothing was really in the
with his last name. There were a lot of off. You don't pin this on the users because it's our fault too.
Our suggestions were terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
we went through everything you guys went through.
Did you get any Savage Dragon references?
We went through a lot of bad Savage puns. We went through a lot of not so clever wordplay. The emails, the suggestions from the audience really kind of reinforced that wordplay was not the right way to go with this. So yeah, I mean, it's slightly clever. Slightly
that's
clever.
All we really
that's all you need.
We could have gone with slightly clever. This is still the Adam Savage project, but that might undersell it a little bit. So anyway, it's on a new feed. It'll be on iTunes soon. You can find it on the podcast page. There's a drop down when you mouse over podcast, or if you're on an iPad or iPhone or something like that, there's a little menu that pops up. Or on any of the episodes, you can click Still Untitled, and it takes you to the index of Still Untitled episodes. And it's a little jacked up right now because we have both videos and audio versions in that feed. We didn't want to lose the comments that are on the videos, since most of people seem to be commenting on the videos and not on the audio podcast. Now those comments will all be unified, but we could have just, like, in order to fix that, we would have had to lose the video comments. We didn't want to do it. So like the first 15 episodes are going to be duped on Still Entitled forever. The last 50 or so episodes of This Is Only a Test are going to have duplicate video and audio versions. Going forward, it's all one podcast page for video and audio podcast content.
It gets better.
We're really excited about that. It's something that we should have done 6 months ago, and it's taken a little bit longer than we wanted. But now that it's here, it's really good.
So,
do you want to talk?
Let's talk about the site.
Yeah,
things that took 6 months to do.
Well, a logo. That was a bit of a challenge.
Well, just why did it take 6 months to get this done, and what are our thoughts on the whole process?
So, first thing is, as was the case at Whiskey, the fabled top men, Andy, Mike Horn, Kuntz, Narciso, who is our latest, I guess, addition to the team. He did the mobile site on the last Whiskey version of Tested, and what I guess is still the mobile site on Giant Bomb and Comic Vine. But he came on full time sometime in the last 6 months and has been kind of doing a lot of the legwork of turning the idea of a redesign into an actual design. I think he did a really wonderful job. But so those guys did a bunch of other stuff in the interim. They launched a bunch of sites. They've helped with some kind of like super boring back end stuff that has to happen on websites to do things like serve ads and make sure that the ads are going on the right pages and that we can make money from the stuff that both we're doing on Tested now and on the other sites that Vermin Braun owns. Yeah, they've been busy.
But that was a good thing, it turns out.
Yeah, it gave us time to think about it.
Which we needed. And I think that if we went into in March, having like a month or so and redesigning the site back then, we would have wanted to redo it all over again.
Well, now. I mean, the benefit of having 6 months between the bad launch, which we all know,
we can say that now.
Yeah,
we can say that it was.
We said it before.
It's not a bad launch. It was a beta launch.
It was a fast launch.
It was definitely a fast launch.
I mean, the whole deal. It's my understanding from the time it became a thing to the time we found out about it was about 2 weeks.
Which is incredibly fast to rebuild a website. Super duper.
Even I mean, and also because of the way the sites are being built on other sites as well that have much greater traffic than us, they had to go back and re-architect a lot of the back end stuff. So it's not. I mean, a lot of what happened, a lot of what went away because Andy and the guys didn't quite, but almost rebuilt the whole back end from scratch. So the other thing that happened in the last 6 months is we had time to make a whole boatload of content and videos and written posts and try a bunch of stuff and see what you guys like.
Yep.
And see what you don't like and see what resonates on YouTube and see what people on Facebook like and Twitter and what Adam and Jamie's fans like and kind of
and what they like and what we like.
Yeah, and pick the best of it and figure out what the site's going to be. Because if we had gone into this in March, I think we would have had a science blog. probably,
We tried
based on
that.
the conversation with Jamie and Adam. The initial conversation we had when they were like, yeah, we think this should be about science. And then it turns out that there's a lot of really good science blogs. There's not a whole lot of people talking about making stuff.
And also writing about science is not as easy as you'd think.
It's not. It's hard. Doing original reporting about science is really hard, and actually really super expensive. I mean, when we were buying access to journal entries, it's like $35 per link, basically.
Per article, yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to go, instead of reading, because the thing I hate when people do is they read the abstract, which is one page, and it's basically the TLDR version of a 35-page or 50-page article.
You don't get the charts and graphs.
Well, and you don't get the information you need to actually write more than 2 paragraphs. So when we were looking at doing that and paying $35 an article and then maybe may or may not get stories out of that stuff, it seemed like a really weird way to go. The way to do the science blogs is if you're in college and have access to all the papers through the library. Go nuts. Do that when you're in school and make a business out of it. But nobody's doing making stuff about making. And not just the prop stuff that Adam does, but also the things like Dejer Molinar and.
Well, to be fair, people are.
People are, but we have an opportunity to do that in a way that I mean, the association with Jamie and Adam gives us the opportunity to do that in a way that maybe other people can't.
That is correct.
Gives us access to people that are sometimes a little bit more hard to talk to.
Yeah.
And it lets us go places that we might not otherwise be able to go.
I think another thing that's neat is the ability to highlight makers who blog about their own stuff that you would never really come across until you knew about them. Like Doug North is a good example. He has a really cool blog about Automata that is partially stuff he makes, but also, just things he sees, other automata, his commentary on it. And that's a really specific thing that you wouldn't find if you were just like Googling, cool maker stuff. Like,
yeah,
because
that's why people should keep on blogging.
Yeah, don't just do Twitter.
As long as you are doing interesting things and writing about it, people will find you.
Yeah,
the internet will find a way.
So that has changed the focus, and I mean we'll keep doing cool science videos. Like we're going to keep going to nuclear reactors and finding people who are doing interesting stuff, whether it's science or building stuff.
I don't know how many more nuclear reactors we'll be able to.
I don't know that we need to do more nuclear reactors, but there are stories that are analogous to that out there, and we get people suggest them all the time, which is great. You can send emails to tips@tested on email, or send us a Twitter message. We read as much of that stuff as we can. There's posts and comments, of course, at forums, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what our travel schedule is going to be like early next year because things are going to get kind of crazy, but yeah, that's what I got.
But it's a new site, and it loads faster. It's easier to read.
We got rid of the Meebo bar. Don't tell anybody.
It's easier to read.
Yeah. So we really specifically fixed the contrast issues with the text on the long articles because we knew it was hard to read, especially if you have a bad monitor. It is not pure white. It is still a white background with dark text. I know people don't like that. There are a small number of people in the world that don't like that.
It's not perfect in terms of bugs, but we are fixing things like font rendering.
There's a couple of different bugs that we should talk about that are pretty common, especially to Chrome users.
Yeah.
If you have overlapping tabs and things just look really broken, close and open Chrome or go to the About Chrome page and press the update button, and that will update you to the most recent version of Chrome, which fixes the big bug that we're having. The other things are caused by style sheet caching problems. So usually if you clear your cache or press, it's either Command, Shift, or Control, depending on which platform you're on, and refresh, or just mash refresh like 10 times really fast. Any of those three things usually fix that problem.
Yeah, I actually experienced it the day before the site launched and went to Norm and I was like, hey, the site's broken in Chrome, right? And he was like, what? And then I refreshed it and I was like, oh, it's all good.
Yeah, I hit the
Update
wrong
Chrome.
style sheet.
Update Chrome.
Yeah, it's Chrome 23. It's Chrome version 23.
I don't think that matters anymore.
No, it doesn't. That's remember how long it took to go from Firefox 3 to Firefox 4?
Well, Firefox is up to like 14 now or something ridiculous.
It just doesn't matter anymore.
Now that they have background updating, it's very, very insignificant what the number is.
Background updating is a wonderful thing. Okay, so there's a couple other things we should talk about. We have made it really easy to track people who are talking to you on the forums or comments or anywhere on the site. If you mash reply to someone on a post or comment or whatever, podcast comment, story comment, video comment, anywhere you post reply, what happens is they get a little notification thing. There's a little notification window. So up on the top on the nav bar, it says explore videos, podcast forums, and then there's your buddy icon, and then there's an envelope for PMs, and then there's this other thing that looks like an IM window, kind of. It looks like a text message icon or something like that. That is notifications. Somebody replies to you on the message boards, you can see that. You can go straight to that point in the thread. You can then have a conversation with them. It makes it really easy to keep up with the threads that you're active in.
The site is also, it's still responsive. Last site was responsive, but it's better now. In terms of how it adjusts for mobile.
And especially for tablets.
Tablets, we did extensive testing on iPads, Android tablets, Nexus 7, Android phones, iPhones, and most things should work. We don't have every single device, and it's weird because the view window on Android are different for every phone, depending on the resolution of the screen and which orientation you hold it at. So there could be some overlapping there. If you do spot a bug, just go to the forums and post it.
There's a sticky at the top of the forums that says post your bugs here. We're keeping track of that thread in particular. If you have something that you think you can't explain in a single post, then make a new thread. But for the most part, try to keep the bugs in that one thread. And that's helping a lot.
Yeah. And by no means is this the last revision of this version of Tested.
No.
There are still plenty of things on the list that didn't make the launch and that will be added hopefully soon.
We've got to get Twitter integration working again. We didn't do that because of some weird stuff that Twitter has changed recently. I mean, you can still tweet articles, but you don't see Jamie's and Adam's and Norm and my tweets on the main page anymore. We've got to, there's some, like Norm said, there's some mobile rendering bugs. I feel like there's something else that I'm forgetting.
We have Retina support now.
Oh, really? I didn't know we had Retina support.
Mm-hmm.
When did that happen?
Nice.
Just
yesterday.
on the main icon?
Main logos.
Oh, cool.
Things that are rasterized.
Yeah, so I mean, check it out. Let us know what you think. I'm really pleased with how this turned out.
It's been fun for me for the past, I don't know, 4 months or so to kind of just watch the design evolve and see, just see each version of where the logo is going to be placed and what's going to look like and how the nav is going to work. And
hey, Norm,
when's
the site going up?
Yeah.
Hey, Norm, when's the site going up?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that was me.
But it was one of those things that we wanted to make sure it was ready and we didn't want to have another big buggy release. A couple other things. There's a promo slot on the main nav that it goes to basically whatever's new each day, or if there's something live, it'll show up there.
Yeah, we call it the top promo. Oh, okay, you're talking about the top right.
I'm talking about the top right.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. We'll post podcasts and just things to keep an eye out for. Also, like on our old site, we back before March, we have dynamic promotion slots now. So if you see a story and you click it on the homepage, and you go back to the homepage, it might not be there anymore. It's because you read it already or you watched the video, and then show you something else that's new.
Just keep going. It'll keep going further and further back in time. And then the last thing is, if you like stuff, if you don't like stuff, please leave comments, because I mean, we can't. We rely on you guys for feedback, and
we are like Tinkerbell, but with comments.
I don't know what that means.
It means if you don't post comments, we'll die.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So we need your comments to live.
I don't want to die.
No. If Wes doesn't get at least 20 comments on each story, every time that happens, we cut off a finger. So we'll start with the left pinky.
That's going to make it way harder for me to write good stories.
Well, you can get one of those mouth sticks and just, hunt and peck, Wes. It's the way it goes. Should we talk about some tech news?
Sure. Some stuff happened this week.
Technology has happened. Did you see that Australia cops said that Apple Maps is dangerous?
They did, and Apple immediately fixed it that day. So I don't know what were the examples of things that led them to say that.
Well, so Australia is, as we all know, the most dangerous continent per capita in the world.
Yes.
It's full of spiders and snakes, and they're all super venomous. And also the climate is really particularly dangerous. It gets really hot in the summertime. And stuff
like Carl Pinkerton said, like, you know how if you walk down a street and you lift up a big rock and underneath there's a bunch of ants or bugs or snakes, Australia is just one giant rock. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So hey, thanks to everybody in Australia who supports the site, and they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
So what happened was there were a bunch of things. We got a bunch of letters about it. Some people were saying that entire towns were moved 150 kilometers in one direction or the other, east, north, west, or south.
That's kind of a mess up.
That's a little bit bad. Some were saying that there were roads where there weren't roads, so you drive off into the desert 120 kilometers and then be stranded because there's nothing at the end of the road where you thought there was going to be, civilization. And while that's not necessarily a terrible thing, if you think, oh, there's a gas station coming up in 20 kilometers, I'll just go to that one. It could be really bad if you're in the middle of the outback and you can't take some sort of poisonous viper and use it to power your car. So a lot of that kind of stuff was the.
This is all TomTom's fault, right?
It's not necessarily all TomTom's fault. It could be different map provider. I don't know who the map provider is for Australia, if it's still TomTom or if it's someone else.
Name a notable
I would
Australian cartoon villain.
Mad Max?
Cartoon.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't watch any Australian.
Someone sinister.
They don't. The Mounties is a Canadian. Dudley Do-Right, is he Canadian?
I don't think so.
He's Australian, or is he Canadian? I don't know.
Dudley Do-Right's Canadian.
Dudley Do-Right's
means
Canadian.
there's not enough Australians in mainstream media.
Yeah, I basically got Crocodile Dundee and Mel Gibson, and the guy who punches stuff. No, the other one.
Baz Luhrmann, Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman, all Australian in the movie Australia.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about the guy with the tugboat who goes around punching people.
That's Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe, thank you. He was in Master and Commander.
Have you seen the pictures of him from Noah, the upcoming Darren
No,
Aronofsky
does he look
movie?
biblical?
There's an image of him with shaved head and like giant bushy beard and wearing like kind of and what looks like an old like peasant kind of.
Russell Crowe's kind of given up, hasn't he?
Weave thing, and his chest, like above the waist, is he's a
barrel-chested man.
Yeah, but like times 3 from what you expect.
Not in Gladiator, a little more in Master and Commander.
Dude, he was pretty big in Gladiator. But think about the way the clothes fit. It's all like skirts and tunics, so you don't notice that he's enormous.
Russell Crowe kind of because he does whatever he wants now.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care.
He totally just put the old school sailor's uniform on him right now, and he would be the South Park representation of Russell Crowe.
Yeah, pretty much, with minus the hat.
Well, I said put the sailor's uniform on.
Okay.
And
he did that movie, Man with the Golden Fist or something. Iron Fist.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't he?
It's like he's walked into that movie from another movie and said, "Oh, hey, I'm Russell Crowe. Let me do some awesome stuff," and then walked away.
He's in Les Mis too, right?
No, that's Hugh Jackman, also Australian.
It says on the Wikipedia.
Oh,
he will be taking on the role of inspector.
He's the inspector.
Yeah.
So both Australians.
Wow.
There you go. Hugh Jackman.
I thought that was a French movie. It's all lies.
I liked him a lot in American Gangster a few years back.
Yeah, he's great in Gladiator.
No one watched that.
What?
American Gangster?
I think it did fine.
Oh, I'm thinking Public Enemies.
Yeah.
No one watched that.
American Gangster is from the guy who made Training Day. Oh, is it Spike Day?
Fuqua?
Oh, I thought it was the follow-up to Training Day. I'm thinking of something else. American something else. Anyway,
this is not a movie podcast.
The upshot is Apple Maps is dangerous.
Russell Crowe will come and punch you in Australia.
Yeah, if you talk shit about Australia. So I've had problems with Apple Maps. I mean, it's not improving, or at least it's not improving at the pace I would like. That's all I'm going to say. Gabe Newell came out this week in a series of VGA interviews and said that Valve is actually making a Steam PC. He said, we are making hardware. We are going to make hardware.
The Steam engine?
No, he didn't call it. He didn't give it a proper noun. He just said we want to make hardware to run Steam on.
Really, it's not that difficult now that Big Picture mode is out of beta.
Yeah, and it's quite good. I mean, have either you you don't have a PC in your living room, do you?
Nope.
Wes, I assume that means also you have not used Steam Big Picture mode.
I haven't really. I opened it up on my desktop just to see it and was like, okay.
I mean, what could they do if they made a PC that would be different than any other vendor making a PC and putting
Well, they could put Linux on it instead of Windows. That seems like a big mistake since they won't have any AAA games.
Yeah, they wanted games, right? Yeah. The whole point of having PCs is to have games. So they have to pay the license fee to Microsoft. And I don't think Gabe Newell wants to put Windows 8 on Steam boxes.
No, I would say probably Windows 8 on Steam boxes is pretty unlikely. I would say he's probably going to license Windows 7. Because, OEMs can still put over whatever they want on. Just pay Microsoft.
All right, well.
No timeline, nothing, just confirmation of the rumor.
I don't think that PC gamers are going to go out and buy this.
I don't think this is for PC gamers. I think this is for people who normally buy Xboxes.
Well, they need to get rid of the problem where if you launch a game, then DirectX needs to update 1 step 1, 2, 3, and also you got to turn on the user ID stuff.
So have you used it since they Well, if they're selling a machine, they can configure UAC however they want.
UAC,
because they don't give a shit about Windows certification. Clearly, the only reason you leave UAC on the default if you're an OEM is so you get the window designed for Windows 7 logo on your machine, and I don't think they really care. So I think the DirectX stuff is much better of late. The thing I've found is that the games that have a full control pad on them, like I don't know if you've used it since they added I'm sure
this
stuff is supported, this stuff isn't supported.
Things are fine.
No. Listen, they've in the last month and a half probably they added a series of rankings for is this game controller support? How does this game support the controller? There's partial, there's none, and there's full. And a lot of games that say it doesn't support the controller actually work. You just have to get up to click through some stupid splash screen or whatever.
So how does that help Valve, though? I mean, do our publishers incentivize then to improve controller support to get higher rankings?
If they're selling a box, yeah. I mean, if they can show, hey, people are using this service.
Do you think they would sell it at a loss?
I don't have any idea. I mean, here's the thing. Remember the Phantom?
Yeah.
So the Phantom was at the time a slow Pentium 4 with a shitty mid-range graphics card, running a version of Windows and a custom UI with a custom lapboard controller. It was part keyboard, part mouse. It was a bad idea at the time because the hardware was really shit that they were running it on. It was a GeForce 5700, which was a first gen, either DirectX 8 or I think it was a DirectX 9 that was really a DirectX 8 part, and it couldn't run games at any kind of appreciable frame rate. I think that we're at a time now where a mid-range $500 PC can actually play games at TV resolutions without problems. And that'll happen for the foreseeable future, at least until we see what next-gen consoles turn out. And if the rumors we see about the next Xbox, the next PS3 are true, then mid-range graphics and mid-range CPU is what they're going to ship with. So it's not like there's going to be a performance gap at the end of this generation between PCs and consoles. It's literally, hey, this is a custom PC that Microsoft built. Here's one that Sony built. Why can't Valve make one too?
So many games are cross-platform now too that I think the controller support on games on Steam is pretty expected now. People get pissed when a game doesn't support a controller. Like even people who would probably choose keyboard mouse most of the time. Like when Mass Effect 3 came out, it was pretty inexcusable how...
I didn't buy the PC version because it didn't have controller support.
It was just ridiculous that it came from a console version with controller support and the PC version didn't have it.
Infinity Ward does the same thing. So the Infinity Ward Call of Duty games don't have controller support. The Treyarch ones do.
And I think that's going to just continue trending towards just everything just using the same exact controller support from Xbox.
Well, there's a time and place for everything, but I don't know if you've played XCOM with the controller, but it actually works. Like I find you are a little bit faster with the mouse and keyboard, but I'd much rather sit back in my recliner in the living room with the big TV and play some XCOM than be 3% faster on a single-player turn-based game where it doesn't matter how fast you are.
Well, different strokes.
Yeah, exactly. Eric Schmidt says that Google is winning the war against Apple. This is the war that Microsoft lost. And the number cited was that they are activating 1.3 million phones a day.
Yeah, they've said that.
It's no surprise.
Yeah,
I don't think Microsoft was ever really in that war.
No,
they were in the other war.
Every time they talk, Eric Schmidt does a big talk, or people from Facebook or Apple. Anytime they're at conferences, and I think Eric Schmidt was at the Computer History Museum 2 months ago with this long talk about his career and his history. They talk about the Big Four, and the Big Four is Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook. And the fact that there are four is very interesting because they all do different services. But yeah, and also Microsoft is never at the table, and literally not a table like when Barack Obama came around, invited everyone from Silicon Valley to a dinner. It was Mark Zuckerberg and
Microsoft is in Redmond,
right? But they never got the invite.
I'm sure Ballmer has had dinner with Obama if he wants to have dinner with Obama.
I don't know about that.
You don't think so?
I mean, part
Microsoft
of that dinner
employs like 80,000 people, dude.
I'm sure if Ballmer really wanted a dinner with Obama, he could have one.
Yeah.
But if it was an invite that was sent out and he wasn't on the list, He wasn't on the list.
Well, that's definitely true. But Microsoft's not really a Silicon Valley. I mean, they have offices down here, but I don't think anybody's ever considered them a Silicon Valley company.
The interesting about those 4 companies, about Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook, is they all do very different things.
But they're all competing with each other.
They all are competing, and they're all kind of getting closer. Their Venn diagrams are overlapping more and more increasingly. But at the same time, they are all, each of them are still very reliant on the other services. So people love shopping on Amazon. A lot of people love using Facebook. People love Google search and Gmail, and a lot of people love Apple products.
The interesting thing to me is that they all have Google has a massive number of users. You know, everybody in the Western world uses Google.
Yeah, you can't
at least once or twice a day.
You can't use the products and services of one if they omitted all the others. Like you can't use, you couldn't use an iPhone if Apple decided to say, we're going to sell the iPhone, but we're not going to have any support for Facebook or Amazon or Google. And people wouldn't buy the iPhone.
Right.
You couldn't use Google if Google said, you can use Google, but we wouldn't let you go on Amazon.com or on Facebook. People would
flip out.
Yeah, flip out. Same with
There'd be
Facebook.
lawsuits.
Same with Amazon.
I think Facebook to a much lesser extent, though. I mean, Facebook is of those things. Facebook is peripheral.
But Facebook couldn't say, use Facebook, but we're not going to let you use it on mobile phones.
Well, that's against Facebook's best interest.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the whole point.
But the difference
against all their interests.
But it is in Apple's best interest to say, hey, you can't buy stuff from Amazon on an iPhone or a Mac. Like
no, they just want to cut.
Well, yes, they want to cut, but I mean, if Apple said, hey, you can't use Amazon from Safari on your Mac,
it's the same as Facebook saying, hey, you can't use Facebook on an iPhone. They would never do that. The same as Amazon saying, hey, you can't read Kindle anywhere else.
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, they're not going to. None of those companies, because they all rely, they know that these other companies are so strong and they're so embedded in the way people use technology and the internet that they can't live without them now. Amazon increasingly, as if Amazon disappeared or if Amazon was blocked from Google, blocked from iPhones, blocked from Facebook sharing, it would be terrible for Amazon.
Well, of course.
But you could say, I think you could say that for Microsoft though. Like, what is the one essential Microsoft product aside from Windows? I guess Windows is the only thing.
Well, the Xbox, but it's not an essential.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Windows on desktop. But all their other
Office for a bit. I mean, we don't use Office because of the way we use word processors and spreadsheets and stuff. But most businesses continue to use Office if they, especially in. I mean, maybe they don't issue Excel to everyone in the organization, but definitely the accountants and that leads the people that need spreadsheets. Yeah.
To Office on iOS, which is pretty much confirmed.
Well. Its support pages have shown up on Microsoft's support website, right? That's the latest leak.
Very explicitly Office for iOS.
It's interesting because at the same time, Apple has been adding support for outside stuff to Pages and Numbers because you can.
Who uses Pages?
Well, you can sync to Dropbox now.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that suddenly makes Pages something I would use.
But why not Google Drive then?
Because Google Drive, up until the last several weeks, hasn't been as good on phones and on iPad and tablet. Yeah, if you're actually using it to create, it's not it's great for viewing and it's great for making small changes. It's a little bit tricky to do big edits to. Although the Google Drive app is quite good. I mean, I think that is progressing in a way that is that's not going to be a problem 6 months from now.
How much of a bite really has Google Docs and Google Drive now taken out of the Office market, you think?
It's hard. I don't know that anybody can quantify that because I don't know that there's numbers about Google.
I think significant in education and small business.
Yeah, if you look,
because it used to be that Microsoft got a ton of their Office revenue from students.
Yeah,
and the deals from schools, that students could buy Office for a discount. It's subsidized,
right,
and schools pay. But now many students are using Google Docs.
Well, the fact that they introduced the Home and Student Edition. Which previously, before that, you had to either have a school that had a site license that you could buy into, or you paid $400 like everyone else. That was the first mark. The other thing is that Google announced their revenue on Google Apps, which is more than $1 billion. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a fairly significant amount of money, and you have to assume that money has come at the expense of Office because that's really the only other.
And also now Google sees that. I mean, the reason Gmail is free is because they can use it to serve you ads.
I think at this point the reason Gmail's free is so that you spend time in the ecosystem, so that you're there.
Sure. So you have a Google account.
So you have a Google account that is
because otherwise you don't need a Google account if you're just Google searching. It definitely helps if you have a Google account if you're searching, but creating a Gmail is the first thing you do to have a Google account, and then you're stuck in Google Calendars. They don't make money off Google Calendars with ads, and all those apps they want to charge money for them.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you can still turn off ads in Gmail. Like that is a thing that if you flip the switch in the settings, you will not see the little context ads that go at the top. I think maybe you see them at the bottom, but I feel like my Gmail doesn't ever have ads. It could also be because I'm doing something else that would prevent ads from being displayed on Gmail, but we won't talk about that. Yeah, I think they do that because once you have the account signed up, then it's much easier to get you into Google Docs and Plus and all the other stuff that they want you to actually do.
I'm really curious if Microsoft has kind of lost its essential, business product with Office becoming less relevant. I mean, obviously they're still making money off of it, but it's not what it was pre Google Docs.
Well, it's not a monopoly.
Yeah, and they're kind of losing some traction with Windows 8. I mean, we don't really know how that's going to go with the Surface Pro, and 2 or 3 years from now, will it have been kind of another Vista, or will it do okay? But what can they do to get back in the game? Imagining like 10 years down the road, Ballmer is out and there's somebody new is in charge. Like what can Microsoft do to compete against Google and Apple?
Well, I think a lot of what they're doing with the live Office stuff, I mean, you can use Office for free on the web. It's a kind of stripped down, but it works really well, and it syncs with the desktop versions views as it work. So it gives you a lot of the benefits that you have with Google Docs. I think that's the first step. I think the fact that they launched Outlook.com and set up really explicit ways that you can connect that to your Gmail and use that as the front end for your Gmail account is very telling. I think that's something Microsoft probably wouldn't have done five or even 3 years ago.
But they're not selling it as that.
If you say
they should.
So when we signed up before it went live, it had a different sign up process than it does now. When you create an account now, you get a little bit of a different prompt, and it says, "Hey, do you have a Hotmail or Gmail or Yahoo Mail or whatever?"
Yeah, if they sold Outlook as like a Sparrow, where you
mean we're talking about Outlook.com?
Outlook.com. Yeah. I'm saying if they sold it as if like a Sparrow for web, and use this because it's a better interface than Gmail, but you can keep your Gmail address, more people would use it.
Well, and then the other thing is when they roll things out like Outlook.com and the desktop client doesn't really support it very well, or even the features that make it unique, then that stuff like that, just because they're so kind of monolithic and slow, they don't move fast enough. Like there should have been an Outlook release that worked specifically with Outlook.com that went live the same day Outlook.com went live. And they haven't done that. Because if you look at your email signatures from people who send you email, bajillions of people still use Outlook, which is almost incomprehensible to me.
And I haven't millions of people still use MSN and Internet Explorer. And Internet Explorer 10, they had that whole new advertising campaign. I mean, they still have their core products and they're still iterating on them. And they're still spending a ton of money on Bing Maps. They're just going forward.
The thing I always say is, I mean, you shouldn't count Microsoft out because they have a whole boatload of money. They have, like I said, 80 or 90,000 employees. There are a lot of, I mean, we know a bunch of people who work at Microsoft and they are not dumb people.
No.
It seems like there are probably some cultural problems that prevent good ideas maybe from percolating up at the speed at which they would at other places. But I mean, I think, if you look at the products that they've been successful with, I have no doubt that when if they choose to release a Surface 2, if they have not tainted that brand so badly with the shit RT versions, then it'll be actually probably pretty good product.
It seems like from the branding within Windows 8 and Windows Phone that the next Xbox might be a really pivotal thing for them, just by how much they have made the Xbox name synonymous with kind of their gaming media support,
which
across
is hilarious.
Platforms.
If you look at 10 years ago, and
the
Bill
original
Gates
Xbox
was
launch?
releasing the Xbox, and it just looked like a dude who did not know what industry he was getting into with a bulky box, and they did it the Microsoft way, and it worked.
Yeah, well, they did it. But in this case, the Microsoft way was doing what everybody else is doing, and then basically they had one feature that was really good
online
and better than anybody else, and that people were really interested in. So they had they predicted the way this works is, and this is what Apple's done really well for the last 10 years. They predicted the future. They put themselves out in front of where people were going to be
at the right time,
3 years in advance. Because I mean, they launched Xbox Live 10 years ago, but Xbox Live didn't take off until the 360 launched. I mean, it was popular with core gamers, people like us, but it wasn't something that rappers were. They had people standing on stage talking about how awesome it was to play Madden and shit on the Xbox. That were celebrities.
Halo 2 is kind of a landmark moment, but you're still talking about just like a couple million, 2 or 3 million or something like that.
That was a core experience.
Pretty insignificant all told. I think really the first Xbox was actually just from a design standpoint, I mean, it was ugly, but what they put in that box was actually smarter than what they ended up doing with the 360, because they ended up causing themselves so many headaches with the various types of hard drives that things support, and then games had to be able to run on a system without a hard drive or with a hard drive. And like the first Xbox was kind of unique in that it had good kind of PC hardware and a hard drive,
and it was out of the box.
Yeah, and
out of the box it worked.
Everybody had like really good hardware to run games on and a hard drive to store data on, and that's something that this console generation with various storage sizes has really kind of struggled with as they tried to figure out, digital downloads are a big deal, but we don't have enough storage space. And
well, and the other thing that they've done is they took advantage by taking advantage of, we're not just talking about online games, they also took advantage of the ability to patch games on day one, which everybody hates, but they built an architecture that uses app diffs, game diffs. So instead of downloading a 3 gig patch like you do on the Wii U or the Sony or the PlayStation, you download an 8 meg thing and it just changes the files that
and
matter.
Their certification, their walled garden experience, for better or worse, does deliver at least a consistent experience. For all their users. Yeah,
I mean, buying games on Xbox is easier than anything except for Steam, and that's really quite telling, I think.
And although there are a lot of things on the back end of that game developers have complained about a lot, how much money they charge for updates and the difficulty of that process.
Well, and the fact that you can't find the games on the console now because they're pushing videos and music and all sorts of other garbage now too. It's not been perfect. But I think that they've done a pretty good job of figuring out what people want and putting it out there 2 years in advance, which is the secret.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how the brand changes with whatever the next Xbox is, the 720 or whatever, and specifically how that affects the Windows 8 implementation of Windows games or Xbox games or whatever they call it.
Well, but the weird thing is, it's like, even though the modern Metro design style is ubiquitous at Microsoft now, it's on all of their core products except for Office, I guess. It still doesn't feel cohesive. Windows 8 and Windows Phone feel cohesive. Xbox feels like it's like the weird bastard cousin of those two things.
The interface sucks, I think.
It's not good.
It's so ad heavy, and they have consistently made it just harder to navigate to the things that you actually want.
Well, but the question is, are the things that you actually want what most of the people actually want? And I mean, at some point they're going to have to give people customization tools for that stuff, or assuming Sony or Nintendo eventually gets better at the other side of it. I'm really interested more than anything else to see if Sony's learned lessons from this generation of the Xbox, and if they're going to, because if you look at the XMB, it is not quite, but essentially unchanged from the launch of the PS3 to today. I think we've been through 8 Xbox Dash updates that significantly changed the design. Maybe 7, I can't remember.
The XMB has changed in functionality of the console firmware, but in terms of the navigation itself, it's the same.
They add new things to that every year, but it's not a significant cosmetic upgrade. Anyway, we're way off the track here.
No, Microsoft, 2 years from now, what do we want, and what does the company do to be? I mean, we could tell 10 years ago we wanted online as PC gamers, we wanted online in consoles, and they did that. So what do we want in consoles or from products in general 2 years from now that no company's doing?
Well, I mean, the downloads, being able to buy stuff without leaving the house is really compelling. I mean, it just did,
so
like day
all
one
your games. I mean, every game.
the perfect world is Steam, right? This is they've figured it out. You're buying a digital locker, so you buy a game on Steam, it goes in your digital locker. You log into any Steam computer, it works. There's no worrying about how many authorizations you have. It's locked to this console like it is to the Wii, which is insane. And that actually is a pretty good experience. And Microsoft gets that too, because when you buy downloaded stuff from Microsoft, more or less it's a digital locker. I mean, I don't know that there's a huge leap forward. I think that the ability to share stuff that you're creating in game, share your experiences. Like when you play a game like Skyrim or Oblivion or Far Cry 3, and weird, crazy shit happens, I always want to be able to take a video and blast that video to YouTube. But the equipment that you need to do that today is a hassle.
It's Switch TV. That's why it's built in the games like PlanetSide.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, they need to keep a rolling buffer of the last 20 minutes or whatever. So you can just say, okay, boom, hit this button, save this, we'll post it to YouTube later.
Sounds like a much better use of the cloud stuff that OnLive was trying to do, aside from actual cloud gaming.
Yeah, it is, because when we had the OnLive demos, that was always the part that was cool. The idea that you had a constantly running stream of what you were playing, and you could share that with people in the world. You
just want to share outside of OnLive service.
Yeah, of course. I honestly don't know that there's another quantum leap forward, because if you look at the online stuff, making consoles online took 2 generations to get right, still not perfect. And that was the last huge leap. I don't know. I mean, I don't think 3D matters at all.
I think they should be designing with the idea that assuming the incredible, significant upgrades in bandwidth. So, use 1 gigabyte, 1 gigabit connections as a standard, and then what can you do with that, as opposed to trying to design for a 5 megabit connection.
I think if a game launched on Steam and the Windows 8 store, or whatever it's called, and the next Xbox had total cross compatibility with game, like obviously not every game, there will be console exclusives, PC exclusives, but especially a lot of the indie games that are kind of designed like in XNA and the Microsoft ecosystem
Unity or whatever.
They work on both platforms. If you could buy a game in the Windows 8 store and have cloud saves and just total cross compatibility with your PC and your Xbox, I think that would be.
So you're saying instead of buy a game, you license essentially on each platform? I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either, but I think that would be one way to get people to buy something not on Steam, but on the Windows 8 store.
That's true.
That's a way to get people in the Microsoft ecosystem if it is useful on more than one device.
Yeah.
Which is something we have for a lot of movies and music, but not games so much.
And even for movies, it's not that great.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's fine for streaming movies.
So Microsoft, it's on them. Hopefully that they will get through their bureaucracy problems and their process problems, and
make good products again, or make consistently. Well, the other thing is, if Microsoft is iterating every year, if they're releasing new Windowses every 12 months
or 6 months,
whatever, then the downside of taking a chance like they did with Windows 8 with a brand new UI that's going to be super controversial and some people are going to like it, some people aren't, enterprise isn't going to adopt or is going to adopt, whatever, the risk for that goes way down, because then you get on a TikTok cycle and you can take a big chance, you can refine it, people can choose to update every other year, and it all works out. I mean, that is a super important consideration.
Yeah, and from all indications, they are selling a good number of Windows phones. It could be price.
Yeah,
Windows Phone 8 is.
Well, I was talking about
good.
Windows, not
I know,
Windows
but both.
Phone. But yeah, it applies to both.
Other businesses too. They're selling a good number of Windows 8 licenses, and they're selling a good number of Windows 8 Phone 8 phones. Twice as many as last year.
Well, twice as many as nothing is still.
Because
remember last year they didn't have the 920, the 900 out, 910, whatever, the first big Lumia in the U.S. So it was I assume last year was kind of a slow year for Windows Phone.
They're not selling at all.
Right. That is. And I think if by going after a lower end market at the stores, and they also
announced that they're going to sell Surface at other retailers. You don't have to go to a Microsoft store.
Yeah. Well, those kiosks are all over the place. Have you been? I saw one in West.
Pop-up.
West, the pop-up in Westfield.
They did that on the night before Windows 8 launch.
Yes.
To sell with Surface, and I'm sure that's going to go away. People in the Bay Area have written about going to that kiosk specifically, and their experiences there.
Were their experiences positive or negative, Norm?
Largely negative.
It's hard to believe.
But I'm sure those people are also going with intent, looking for a negative experience. And also obviously to compare it to the Apple experience. Right. It's weird. I think you could also buy Halo at the kiosk.
Well, I like Halo.
Yeah, you can.
Pretty good.
If you didn't want to wait, go to go get directly from Microsoft. And want to go to a GameStop.
It's like $35 or $40 online right now. On like Best Buy or something.
Even better.
That's even better. Those kiosks are going to go away. I think their aggressive store strategy, being aggressive, meaning that they're putting their stores across from Apple stores. It's good, but the actual stores inside, I don't know what you would buy there.
Surface or Halo.
Yeah, so
maybe a copy of Office.
They don't do. There used to be that Microsoft store in the Metreon a decade ago, and they sold
phones.
Tons of accessories. They had some cool, the PC gaming stuff there.
I don't know if I would call it cool PC gaming stuff, but
they had Sidewinder joysticks and game pads, and back when Microsoft Game Studios was publishing PC games, they had kiosks for that stuff there.
Yeah, but they didn't have the stuff like in the Sony store where you had the kind of weird Japanese future tech stuff like 3D goggles and robot dogs
Sony store,
and all that. I'm just saying.
Store. Yeah, no. They don't have that. They didn't have that stuff, and that's why there's no Microsoft store back in Metreon. But the new Microsoft stores. So they sell Windows. I guess they could help you. They sell Windows PCs there.
Yeah.
So is it just like a Best Buy curated by Microsoft?
It's a marketing exercise. And the weird thing about the Microsoft stores for me is that when Apple launched the Apple stores, they had products that were best in class. And they were selling selling shitloads of iPods and
shitloads of accessories.
And there was a whole weird ecosystem growing up around iPod cases. I don't. You guys probably don't. I mean, I'm sure you remember actually. But when you bought an iPod, there were 5 million different cases, and everybody was making weird little cases for your. You could get a perfectly customized experience that exactly suited your desires for how to protect your iPod Nano or Mini or full size or whatever.
And that's the case with the iPhone.
It is. It seems like Apple's going away from that though, because they're not selling their own cases anymore.
I don't know. I have not thought about that enough to form an opinion about the Apple case and whether Apple's moving away from cases. But Microsoft stores, like aside from if you wanted to buy a laptop and you try to go to a Microsoft store to compare all the touch laptops.
Well, the kiosk didn't have that many laptops. It had a bunch of Surfaces.
Yeah, I mean,
and
primarily it sells Surfaces.
And a Nokia phone and HTC. And I
guess when Windows phones.
Yeah,
I guess it is the best place to check out all the Windows phones if you want to compare, an 8X to Nokia to Samsung.
If you don't want to get the bias of the guy at the cell phone store, but instead want somebody who's going to be really pro Microsoft, you should go to the kiosk. If you want to talk to the sales guy and find out what he gets the most commission on, you can go to the cell phone store. Otherwise, go to places like the Wirecutter or Tested and read reviews and make your own decision. And then go just feel them, touch them.
Good luck,
love
Microsoft.
Them. Yeah. Twitter added photo filters this week. I think that this is super interesting.
Has anyone used? I have not used a Twitter photo filter.
I think they kind of missed the point of the photo filters.
What was the point of the photo filter?
It's to tart up your photos.
Yeah, to make your shitty photos look a little more shitty and awesome at the same time.
So what were the filters? Do they not do that?
They're the same filters is the problem as I saw it. Like, I'm not a filter expert, but the Twitter filters I looked at looked like they were lifted straight from Instagram or Hipstamatic or any of the other filter apps. They don't do anything special.
Okay, so these filters, I presume, are only when you want to take a picture.
It's when you take
using the Twitter app.
You go into the Twitter app and you take a picture.
I guess I don't have the updated app yet because I don't see filters.
No, you have to update the app. It came out yesterday, I think. Maybe the day before.
Is there, because in Instagram,
yes,
Instagram is good for sharing. It's an easy way to share as a social network. It's a replacement for Path, which also had photo filters.
Yeah.
But people, even photographers, like Instagram's filters because a lot of work went into those filters.
They're relatively smart. They're not just shitty Photoshop filters.
Yeah, and for example, like the black and white filters, and also the Lux thing they do to blow up contrast because it looks good on a Retina screen.
Yeah. I mean, Instagram filters are tuned for
they're tuned
Apple
for
screens.
Yes, they are tuned for high resolution, bright, vibrant screens. So Twitter filters don't do that.
So I'm gonna open it up and I'll take a picture and I'll show you. Take photo or video. Hello, Norman Chan and Wesley Fenlon. This is a great segment. I apologize in advance. Use, and it says Twitter would like to access your photos, and then you get this guy right here, this little edit thing. And at the bottom, you have color, like there's color filters, and then there's these other filters, but none of them, like when you look at the Instagram filters, they always look pretty good.
Because they all have fancy names.
Well, it's not even because they have fancy names. It's just that they may make your picture look worse, from a very numeric.
Some have vignetting, some don't. Some have weird overlays for fake lensing.
Yeah, but just look at the filters. They're not like this just looks shitty.
What's that called? Vintage?
That's vintage.
That's pretty shitty.
That does look shitty.
Yeah. Like they all look a little bit shitty.
Maybe they're finding out that creating filters isn't so easy.
I'm not sure that I agree
this one's
with
gritty.
All Instagram filters look pretty good.
No.
Generalization,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the thumbnails at least make it look like you've done something cool. Like they are. If you're just looking at a snap, very low level, you're like, oh yeah, let's make everything purple. That's cool. Why not? The other thing that's good about Instagram is what you said, Norm, the sharing. You have a friends list. You can see photos. You can filter photos by who posted them, and you can just browse the photos.
Yeah, does anyone actually go into like a Twitter your Twitter profile page and check the photos?
You can't really. You can a little bit, but only on the website.
On the website, on someone's only the photos they've posted using the various services or Twitter is hosting. But yeah, no one actually does that.
Yeah, so mine are here, but it doesn't expose it very well. Yeah, I don't know. Twitter added photo filters.
I want a filter that taps into one of those facial recognition APIs and just make that mustache Chrome extension or something
that'd be
similar.
awesome.
Mustache
So
everyone.
just every photo you post, just be like a mustache.
We should edit that out. That's $1 billion idea.
Or just like
mustache
kissify every person, every photo you ever take.
Speaking of Flickr photos and filters and photo sharing and Instagram, Yahoo released a brand new Flickr app this morning. And for the first time since apps were introduced on iOS 5 years ago now, it doesn't suck ass.
And also they did release a mail app. So this is Marissa Meyer's emphasis on product.
Yeah.
Expertise and experience in developing product and product experiences. And I'm rooting for Yahoo.
Well, they're in a unique position because they could be the glue that holds the other 4 services together.
So the way Marissa Meyer explained it in this interview she did recently was they went to Yahoo and they asked, first of all, they gave all the Yahoo employees whatever phone they wanted. So whether it was iPhone 5
Android, whatever.
Android, a significant number of them used iPhone. I think she uses iPhone as well.
I think they were all Blackberries before, right? Wasn't that the corporate issue if you got a phone from the company?
So. Yeah, so they all got new phones.
No wonder they were dying.
Perfect expenditure. And then they did like a big poll of what are the things that people do on their phones, because mobile is where Yahoo wants to be.
Yeah, mobile, it turns out.
Mobile is huge. What are the things that people want to do when they first wake up? What are the things they do on their phone? So
you check your email.
Check your email.
You check your social networks.
Check your social network. Okay, browse the web.
Maybe browse the web.
Take a photo.
Did you take a photo when you're laying in bed on the phone?
I'm saying on your phones in general.
Oh, like the things that you do on your phones.
Yeah, in order.
You know? Yeah, it's got to be email, social networks, texting, photos, calls.
Read news. More specifically, check sports.
I like sports.
Right, people love sports. And it turns out that Yahoo does all those things.
Yeah. In fact, actually, Yahoo Sports is really good.
Much better. And Yahoo News, even though it's the same feed as from AP and Reuters as what Google News does, it's actually curated and presented in
by
a nicer
human
way.
beings. Yeah. You don't have weird stories pop up all. There was a story about
Google
that on
News
the Atlantic.
Is terrible.
I don't know about terrible, but it's not great. Okay, so these are the first. Have you installed Flickr? Are you a Flickr user still, or no?
No.
Did you ever pay for Flickr?
I never paid for. I had a free account. That was it.
So I paid for Flickr for a long time because my photos are hostage and I couldn't be bothered to get them off. And also I think I paid for 5 years of Flickr at once because I got a really good deal about 4.5 years ago, if I had to guess. The new app is good. The new app is what I have been looking for in a Flickr app for a really long time, and they weren't able to actually accomplish it because of the weird Yahoo. Basically, when they made Flickr shift from using Flickr IDs to log in to Yahoo IDs to log in, they added a whole bunch of other security stuff that went with that. Because once you had the Yahoo IDs involved, it had to work with two-factor, and it had to be super secure because of all the mail and calendar and all the other stuff that people associate with that. So the long story short is you couldn't have like an easy login and have something that just uploads all your photos to Flickr as you take them on the phone.
Is your like Yahoo login a Yahoo at yahoo.com, or can it be like
it's a username?
It's a username, or is it like, because you can create a Yahoo account using a Gmail account?
Yeah, you can use an email address just like you can with Live.
Yeah,
mine is
like
just a
that.
username.
I like services where creating an account you can use an email address as your login.
But when you do that, you know what happens, right?
Well, you don't want you can
because then you have Yahoo, then you have normanchan@gmail.com at yahoo.com or something really dopey.
Well, I never use that.
Well, right,
but then I never forget the login.
That's true.
Because I always know.
I have one password, so I never forget the login.
So Flickr had an iOS app before this. It was just bad. Really, really bad.
It was a way to browse the photos you already had. You could kind of upload photos, but in fairness, I haven't used it in probably 2 years. So it wasn't Instagram level of easy for uploading photos to the internet.
But increasing number of Flickr users are cell phone uploads.
The number one camera on Flickr has been the iPhone since the iPhone had a camera.
iPhone 5, number 2 is probably iPhone 4S. I don't like that because I would rather there be more. I mean, 500 pixels is great, but Flickr is just a larger database, and I would rather we see more
quality
nicer photos with real cameras.
Well, but the benefit of having a massive user base is that the 1% of good photos float to the top of the chud photos.
So can you browse through top photos?
Yeah, so you can actually browse by contacts now. So you see all, because the neat thing about Flickr was it was one of the first social apps. You had friends, you had a contact list. You can actually browse through your friends' photos on the phone, which, good God, how did this take so long? You can post photos of your own. You can tag them. You can post them to Twitter and Facebook. When you post it to Facebook, instead of just uploading a shitty low-res Facebook photo, it just posts the short one and links back to the Flickr page.
My feeling is that a lot of hardcore Flickr users are not like this. People who use Flickr in a way where they see it as a repository, as an archive, as a curated
like a lot of professional photographers use that as a way to share photos with clients.
May not want to have Flickr be a stream of, like a Facebook stream of photos.
I'm going to tell you a secret. I don't think Flickr cares about those people. I think that they will do what they need to keep them. I think that those people are probably already satisfied. I think that they want to get more people because the benefit of having Flickr, like Flickr missed a couple of things. They missed the app early on. Like they missed the ability to upload photos from the iPhone because they didn't think that those cameras were going to be worth taking pictures with. They missed, and they couldn't work out the login issues. They missed the ability to send an email link. You know how you can post a YouTube video, make it unlisted, and send the link, and anybody can look at it even if they're not logged in?
Yep.
They missed that. So like if you're posting pictures of your kid, you don't want to put them on the internet for everyone to see. You just want to send a private link to the grandparents, but the grandparents can't figure out how to fucking sign into Flickr or make you a friend. Like that kind of core stuff is how they lost the normal people. Instagram doesn't offer that either. You can't post pictures on Instagram to just friends or just family, as far as I know, right?
No.
You can do that on Google Plus. You can do that on Path, but you can't, and you can do it on Flickr, but you can't, and you can do it on Facebook, I guess, but it's hard to figure out how to do on Facebook. Like all of that stuff is core to the Flickr experience. You can say, do I want to send this to friends? Do I want to send it to family? Do I want to send it to contacts? Or do I want to put it open for everyone on the web? And you can categorize people in a one-to-many way. So I can say that Norm is a friend, but Norm doesn't have to say I'm a friend in order for him to be able to see my pictures. It was really way ahead of its time, and then they missed mobile entirely. So the Flickr app coming out is a potentially really huge deal, especially as Twitter and Instagram are having a pissing match over really stupid stuff.
Good timing.
Yeah, worked out well. I don't know anybody who uses Yahoo Mail, so I haven't downloaded that app yet, but I assume it's probably better than it was before. I don't know.
Safe bet, I imagine.
Let's see, what else should we talk about? Apple Television rumors.
So these are the rumors that say that Apple has been testing different designs, and
no surprise.
No surprise. I'm sure they have dozens of TV mocks. And I'm sure they've done it for products they never intended to release to market.
They've
as a design practice.
Multiple times they've said that they spend multiple millions of dollars a year building shit that they never intend to make just to see how people like it.
Yeah.
See how it tests. I mean, we have heard a couple of people say next March, which makes sense now that there's probably no iPad event next March.
Unless they do 6-month update cycles, product update cycles.
I don't think they can get away with 6-month product update cycles without people losing their minds.
Are you sure about that?
No, I'm not, but I don't think they can.
I agree. I don't think they're gonna. I think they're going yearly on the iPad. They just wanted to shift it to holiday where people want to buy them.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
That does make sense from our Ardeen perspective. And then your TikToks are 2 years.
The only exception would be if they decide that they think they can sell an iPad Mini with a Retina screen for more money, because that's a relatively new product.
Or if they can't sell an iPad Retina screen for the same amount of money,
right? Is
the counter,
right? So anyway, yeah, but it's the fact that they're testing prototypes, like you said, Norm. They build a ton of prototypes for everything. I mean, when we've seen, if you've read the Jobs biography, then you know about the 15 different iPhone versions that they made, or whatever it was, some ridiculous number of iPhones that not only were not the original kind of, solid slab of glass design, but that had all sorts of other crazy shit attached to them, keyboards and the whole 9 yards. So, yeah, that no surprises there. The
Verge ran a story today about from like a television conference, and said, the future of the TV is the iPad, according to all these people. So maybe Apple will get up on stage and say, here's the Apple TV. It's the iPad.
Here's the future of the... Well, I mean, if you look at the way the iPad works...
That would be thinking different.
With relation to apps, it's a nice way to watch TV. The thing that it's missing is a universal guide to the content that's embedded in the
time
apps.
It takes to load an app and then get to a stream.
Right.
There is no surfing.
What I'm saying is, if you took the app experience and put a TV guide, a searchable, you let people search inside the apps. So you say, okay, I want to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it's like, oh, Curb Your Enthusiasm is on Netflix and iTunes and HBO, and which episode do you want to watch? And then you click, and it's a deep link straight to there in the app. That is an experience that is better than anything that's available today.
Sure. And then if you don't have the HBO app and not paying for the service, then you haven't paid for it yet.
Right.
You should pay for it.
Then it says, hey, but theoretically, you probably wouldn't install HBO on your TV unless you were already paying for HBO, right? So you'll only see stuff that you actually subscribe to. So you don't have Amazon Instant on if you don't pay for Amazon Instant. You only have Netflix and Hulu and Vudu and 3 other things, and then that gives you a...
Or they could then let apps, apps or channels, I guess, content owners allow, free days and free episodes.
Yeah.
So download the HBO app even if you have no intention of paying for it, because there could be a day where certain episodes are free.
Right, and then that gives them a whole other way to drive subscriptions and stuff like that.
Learn from the free the free app model.
So Tim Cook's talked about TVs and how Apple feels like that's a big opportunity, because he did a couple of interviews with Bloomberg and Forbes. What was the other one? I can't remember. Maybe NBC.
Brian Williams. Rock Center.
Oh God. The thing that they don't talk about is the how the whole thing goes together, and that's the interesting part. I have no idea. Getting content deals, the content providers are already wary of Apple because of the domination of the iTunes store on music and TV and video. I think it's going to be much harder for them to get movie and TV deals now than it was when they got music deals with the big 5 music labels 10 years ago. Anyway, a Nokia engineer explained how to pirate Windows 8 apps and DLC.
I'm all ears.
It's not a simple process. It's not a particularly difficult process. It's somewhere in between. If you have a lot of time and you're not, I just found it really interesting that the Nokia engineer who was in charge of Windows 8 stuff, Windows Phone 8 stuff, is like, yeah, here's how you do it. Microsoft's done some really dopey stuff here. They should probably fix that. Go nuts, Finns.
Brutal honesty.
Be a brutal honesty. And then the last thing is that Google announced they released their Zeitgeist stuff for 2012.
I saw that, and I did not look at the list intentionally. what are the items on the list?
Would you like to guess?
I would like. No.
I think you should guess.
Okay, I will guess, and then we'll also see if I can actually know what the things are.
Okay.
So I got to think back 2012, right? I'm going to say Mitt Romney was one of them.
Yep. I'm going to write your guesses down here so we can compare.
Barack Obama as a corollary.
Okay.
But probably more Mitt Romney because people knew less about him.
Okay.
Leading up to the election. Is this worldwide?
This is. It seems like it's probably worldwide.
Okay.
The list that I pulled. I just pulled the top
what else?
of all.
Olympics, London Olympics.
Okay, that's a pretty good idea.
Kim.com.
What's
I
Kim.com?
don't think Kim.com would have been Kim Jong-il, maybe. Kim
You're gonna put Kim Jong-il?
No, I don't think people will Google him. People don't care.
Okay.
People that
don't get off the computer.
I'm just,
get off the pocket computer.
What else happened this year that was big?
I think you are dramatically overestimating the world population's interest in
Justin Bieber.
Bieber is a pretty good guess. The world does have Bieber fever.
The Avengers.
Okay. I think this is turning into a norms list for 2012.
What else happened in 2012? What things trended over the internet?
Most popular YouTube video of all time.
Gangnam Style.
Oh, wow. No hints, Wes.
Okay.
That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 things. No, that's good. This will be instructive.
Okay.
Wes's one guess was Kim.com. Kim.com did not make the list.
That was just a suggestion.
Sorry, Wes. Mitt Romney and Barack Obama do not appear on the list.
What?
Nope. Sorry.
People did not Google them?
Nope. Olympics 2012. You're right on with that one. That one was that's a worldwide event. That's a big deal. Bieber.
I'm sure the word was where to watch opening ceremony Olympics 2012.
Yeah. Or Queen James Bond Olympics 2012 or something like that. Justin Bieber, sadly, Bieber fever has receded, and the kids are less into Bieber than they were last year. The Avengers, not in the top 10.
Oh.
Gangnam Style is, however, in the top 10.
Right.
So you got 2 out of 6 guesses, which isn't bad because it's basically the whole world, right?
Every single word ever and a permutation of characters.
The number 1, Whitney Houston.
Oh, she passed away this year.
Early this year, yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yep.
How soon we forget.
Hurricane Sandy, number 3.
That makes sense.
Gangnam Style is number 2.
Okay, Hurricane Sandy was
a big worldwide event. It's in the same way that the Japanese tsunami was last year, and so on and so forth. iPad 3. I'm surprised you missed this one since it's sitting in front of you right now.
iPad 3.
iPad 3. Fuck the iPad 4, man. iPad 3 is
no iPhone 5.
No iPhone 5. Diablo 3. I bet iPhone 5 was last year.
I would believe that.
Yeah. Diablo 3.
Really?
Coming in hard.
Diablo 3 beat out the Avengers and Barack Obama and
Diablo
Mitt Romney?
3 is a worldwide event, apparently.
I can see that for the China draw.
Who's the most famous pregnant woman in the world right now? And also naked at different times in the course of the year. And I think she got married maybe earlier this year. Maybe that was last year. Kate Middleton, Norman Chan.
Oh,
the Duchess of Wales.
She's barely pregnant, right?
She's just a little bit pregnant, but it turns out that's all it takes.
Oh, man.
Right. So Kate Middleton is coming in. Olympics 2012 is next. Amanda Todd. I didn't know who Amanda Todd was.
Who's Amanda Todd?
She was the bullying victim who committed suicide. So it's a really sad story.
This really lets you know who's on the internet.
Yeah. This tells you that you are not the normal internet consumer.
Yeah. Wow.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Oh, because he suddenly passed away.
Yeah. And then the last one is BBB12, which is, I think, the Brazilian Big Brother.
I think that's actually pretty huge. I know very
huge
little
enough
about
that search term.
If you search
globally,
when I go to BBB, the number 1 result for BBB12 is a thing that says Big Brother, and then it has a bunch of people's names.
Well,
in
I would
Portuguese.
hope that the 10th highest search term in Google is something that will lead you.
Yeah, no, you think that would be a good result. That was my theory here. So Brazilian Big Brother 12 is a worldwide. I assume that it's probably that because everyone in Brazil must Google BBB 12. I thought it was a soccer thing at first. I was a little bummed that it wasn't a soccer thing.
The Whitney Houston and Michael Clark Duncan makes me wonder who is the most Googled
celebrity death
or just death in
Patrick
general.
Swayze.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be celebrity.
Patrick Swayze. I bet
that's not a bad one.
It could be
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs would be pretty big.
Christopher Reeve.
I don't think so.
What? He was an inspiration.
But he died before the internet, really. I mean, not totally before the internet. Do you want to look at some other?
Like 04.
They have a bunch of other. So that's trending. That one, events, Hurricane Sandy, and Kate Middleton nudie pictures was number 2.
Wow.
People was Whitney Houston, Kate Middleton, Amanda Todd. The trending images, Bieber Fever, no longer One Direction, and Selena Gomez, and then the iPhone 5. Athletes was Jeremy Lin, who's the basketball player, right. Michael Phelps, and Peyton Manning. Films, what do you guess? Films. This will be fun.
Twilight.
Wrong. Not even on the list. The Twilight movie just came out.
How many films?
10 films.
Okay. Oh,
Hunger Games.
Wait. Yeah.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
That's an easy one.
Avengers.
That's number 4.
Okay, we're getting all 10 before we continue on.
Oh,
so
God.
Hunger Games.
This could be a while.
Harry Potter was last year. Dark Knight Rises.
Nope.
What?
That's not surprising.
Nope.
Twilight is not on there.
Twilight is not on there. Nope.
What other movies? Hobbit?
Nope. I think it's all stuff that's been released.
Oh, it's all old movies.
It's the movies that came out in 2012.
Those are so old.
Awesome. Oh, okay. In 2012.
Yeah, it's all garbage from last year. I mean, this year.
Jeez. What came out this year?
Oh, wait. No, that's Mission Impossible. Well, we talked about one with Adam at length.
Skyfall.
Oh, Prometheus.
Both of those, actually.
Both Prometheus and Skyfall?
Skyfall is number 2. Prometheus is number 3. Avengers is number 4.
Did we list number 1 yet?
The Hunger Games.
Okay.
You nailed that.
Skyfall was the second most Google image searched movie.
No, Google search.
Google
the
search
film,
movie.
yeah, film.
It's the highest grossing British film of all time. It's about
pretty awesome.
$1 billion, more
Yeah.
money than Batman Begins.
Yeah. Do you want me to just run down the rest of the list? Because I don't think you're ever going to get the rest of these.
Okay.
Number 5 is Magic Mike. Has
wow.
Dicks. Lots and lots of dicks. John Carter is number 6.
I'm shocked.
Probably, because remember, it's not positive. It's not only positive mentions. It's all of the mentions.
A lot of people were curious about John Carter, I'm sure.
The financial press talked about John Carter a fair amount, too.
Star Wars.
Nope, no Star Wars. Ek the Tiger. I don't know what that is. EKTHA Tiger. Paranormal Activity 4.
Okay, I can see that.
Taken 2.
I can see that.
And Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadow, that movie made no money.
I assume that's because it was a disaster. Ek the Tiger is an Indian action film.
Globally.
Global. Yeah, global. It's a global list.
Amazing Spider-Man wasn't on there.
No, that just shows the difference between what plays here and what plays globally.
No, it just shows who's on the internet, Google searching these things.
Do you want to do TV?
Was number 1 website on the internet, again, also Facebook.com?
They don't have websites on here. That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
Do you want to do one more? Because we can do TVs,
okay.
Or we can do music, or we can do consumer electronics.
Let's do consumer electronics.
Okay, consumer electronics.
Media. Okay, let's go. iPad, iPhone 5.
Not on the list.
What?
It's not on the list, Norm.
Then I'm just going to go all the way to the other side, Microsoft Surface.
Yes, that is number 8.
Okay. iPad 3.
That is number 1. Because remember, we had that on the big
Mini.
list. iPad Mini is number 3.
Okay.
Is the Retina Mac on there?
No Retina Mac.
No. Let's go with GS3, Galaxy S3.
That is number 2.
Okay. Samsung sells a ton of those. Galaxy Note.
Note 2 is number 5.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you've got 1, 2, 3,
Note.
5, and 8.
The Wii U.
Nope.
Wow. Xbox 360.
Nope.
What other consumer electronics came out this year? Windows 8?
Nope.
I guess that wouldn't count.
It's a software, but probably.
This is all hardware?
It's all hardware. It's all specific models, too, except for one.
Oh my God, what are people buying?
Do you want me to go down the list?
Is the Canon 5D Mark III there?
No cameras. It's all tablets and phones and game consoles.
So 3DS?
Nope.
Did you guess the Nexus 7?
That's one. That's number
7.
4.
Okay, there it goes. That makes sense. Duh. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Kindle something?
And 8.
Oh,
Kindle Fire is number 9.
Is there a Kindle like Paperwhite on there?
Nope. Just Kindle Fire.
Nook?
No other e-readers. So right now you have a tablet. You have a tablet, a phone, a game console.
The Droid Razor?
Nope.
Come on.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I'm going to go down the rest of the list.
Two X's.
I'm tired of this
Okay.
game.
I'm tired of this game.
Number 1 is iPad 3. Number 2 is Samsung Galaxy S3. Number 3 is iPad Mini. Number 4 is Nexus 7. Number 5 is Galaxy Note 2. Number 6 is the PlayStation.
Just PlayStation?
PlayStation. 2 words.
Are you kidding me?
Number 7 is the iPad 4.
Okay. I'm not
Number
surprised about
8 is the Microsoft Surface. Number 9 is the Kindle Fire. Number 10 is the Nokia Lumia 920.
that. Oh, good for Nokia.
Worldwide.
Maybe a lot of people were Googling PlayStation because they didn't know what the Vita was called.
PlayStation. Maybe. I don't know. I always like the Zeitgeist thing. It's a lot of fun. They did a video.
PlayStation.
If you look, they talk about
good ads.
They talk about Felix Baumgartner a fair amount. He's in there. That was something that was Googled a lot. One Direction makes a lot of appearances. Everybody loves Morgan Freeman and Coney 2012. Thanks, Coney 2012.
Was that this year?
That seemed Coney 2012.
I guess it was.
Were we in Portland when that happened?
We were.
No. Were you and I there? Or were Gina and I there?
No, we were in Portland.
All those little kids?
They were the little kids.
The TV people grouped up all the kids
Yeah.
into a big bunch, so it looked like there were a whole shitload of them, but there were only like 5.
Yeah.
It's really sad. So yeah, that's Google Zeitgeist. You can find it at zeitgeist.google.com. I think that'll do it for news, unless we have anything else. Let's roll into what we've been testing and then take some questions. Well, that's very soft.
That's what
We're not
she
rocking
said.
too hard this week, are we?
I'm gonna probably edit that out because otherwise I know what next week's outro song will be. Wes, you've been testing monitors, a bunch of monitors. You've been testing Korean monitors?
Well, testing and researching.
Okay.
So I've mostly been testing the Korean monitor that I bought like 2 months ago now.
A while ago
It was
now,
right before we went to New
September.
York. Yeah.
So 3 months ago.
2.5, yeah,
almost.
3 months
Yeah.
ago. It's the crossover 27Q LED monitor.
And it's notable because it's a very inexpensive 27-inch
cost me
monitor.
$400, or
That
like
is
$390
half
something.
price.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of on the expensive side of what these monitors cost.
So what's the story?
So basically, sometime earlier this year, I want to say spring, either eBay sellers started selling these cheap Korean monitors or people just started noticing them. I don't really know how far back it goes.
But it kind of
And
became a thing.
It became a thing
Worked
very
that out.
quickly. There are a couple... I don't really know exactly where it originated, but there's one forum thread in particular that was one of the places I went to start research where people had caught onto these and started
Like on a deal site or something?
Guys.
No, it's like I think it's Hard Forum.
Okay, Hard OCP's form.
Yeah, so they just started kind of cataloging the various types of monitors that these eBay sellers are selling, and people would buy one and then post their results and say, oh, I got a perfect screen, or I got a couple, dead pixels, and rating it. And so
it's
when you're
buyer
buying a
beware.
monitor off
Yeah.
eBay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically,
No
these-
returnsies.
These monitors are kind of the same parts that you would get, the same screen you would get in a good Samsung or
Dell.
LG or Apple. It's an LG panel that is used in the Apple Thunderbolt displays. So it is the exact same screen.
Oh, but these are like the cast-offs, the ones that didn't pass.
But they're the cast-offs. So most of them are basically A- quality,
okay.
which can range from it having some dead pixels on it to it basically being pristine.
Hold on, did they do a 27-inch, or is this just, or these are like the 22 inches turned sideways and with more pixels?
It's a 27-inch.
That's what's in the iMac, I bet.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the exact same display as in the Thunderbolt,
27 inch iMac.
and it's basically the same as the ones that Dell uses in their 27-inch
Mhm.
ultra sharps. They're like a couple little variations, but pretty much the same screen.
So, but it's like screen quality isn't all about panel. There's also backlight considerations and some other stuff too, right?
Right. And so the reason I ended up picking this one, there were a couple reasons, but one of them was I looked at a comparison somebody put up between his crossover and his Apple Thunderbolt display. And in terms of like light leakage and backlighting evenness, the crossover is actually better than Apple's. So the reason they can sell these things so cheap is, one, the displays are usually, the panel is potentially imperceptibly worse quality than an Apple, or
it doesn't pass Apple's qualifications, but it's still good enough to use.
Or it might have some dead pixels. That's the bad case.
Okay.
But the most of it is build quality and what else goes into the monitor. So most computer monitors you buy, you've got HDMI, DVI, DisplayPort, a bunch of different inputs. There's a scaler in there that lets you, plug in an Xbox or something, and it can
use component or HDMI.
Right,
input.
it can handle different resolutions.
Okay.
Maybe you've got USB ports or a webcam or speakers or something like that. And these monitors have none of that. It's like a plastic or metal shell for your screen and a power plug and a DVI input, and that's it.
And then you have to send it a resolution that it supports. You can't send it like 1920 by 1000, 1024 or something crazy like that.
Right. Which, although, some people might confuse the difference between like the hardware output and software. So like you can play a game at whatever resolution you want on your PC.
Well, you just have to set the video card to scale rather than the monitor.
Right. Yeah. Which is kind of how it works automatically. Like if you're playing Battlefield and you set it to 1920 by 1080, it's still going to work on the monitor.
Yeah. Well, generally the video card scaler is going to be better than the monitor scaler anyway.
Right. Yeah. But the downside is you can't plug your Xbox into it. The DVI input wouldn't work anyway, but even if you could plug it in, it would have to support that resolution in hardware.
The actual resolution.
Right. It would have to support 2560 because there's no scaler on that side.
So this is a 25. These are 2560 by
1440. Okay. 16 by 9. And the reason I picked this one was the screen was really well regarded. Pretty much that's pretty much the same for all of them. It's because they all use the same panels, but obviously the Maker you could get some variation in the number of dead pixels and their return policy and stuff like that.
What's the return policy like?
I should say more their selling policy, in that there's variation between the different eBay sellers in what they qualify as an acceptable number of dead pixels.
Okay.
There's no real return. I think you might be able to return within a couple weeks, but it's basically if you ever have a warranty issue, you're going to have to deal with a Korean company that gives a manufacturer's warranty. Like the eBay sellers are like, you can return it, within 7 days or something, and then
it's on you.
Then it's on you.
Yeah.
And so you would have to pay for your own shipping and all that stuff.
Yeah, if you're sending it back to Korea, it's probably going to be gone for a month each way. And
basically, you should not count on being able to do that. You're buying it, and if it breaks, it breaks.
Sucks.
But you can get one for $350.
So you buy two of these for what you would pay for one from HP or Dell or Apple. So I think the Apple 27-inch displays are even more expensive than that.
$1,000.
Yeah.
And so the one I bought it was a little more expensive because the seller I bought from sells no dead pixel models.
Okay.
And so I paid almost $400 and got one with 0 dead pixels.
So you paid a premium for a premium cheap product.
Exactly. And there are a lot of people who have given feedback saying they have 0 dead pixels even when they didn't pay for that.
Okay.
Or they had 1 or 2, and at that resolution, it's really hard to see a dead pixel.
Depends on the color.
It depends whether it's stuck on or off or green or blue or whatever.
That's true. But the one I picked has a really good stand. It can pivot, and it's actually pretty solid. Some of the other models have kind of flimsy, crappy plastic stands.
Do these have standard VESA mounts? So if you want to put it on a
they are
mount,
VESA,
then you can. Yeah. Okay. So even if you get one if you're going to put it on a thing that's mounted to your wall or your desk, then it doesn't matter how the stand is as long as it has VESA mounts.
Yeah. So some of the ones that are even cheaper than the one I picked that cost like, honestly, you could get one high 200s or $300.
Jesus.
Maybe that's a little low, but around $300. Some people choose those to do a triple monitor setup.
Yeah.
So obviously it would have cost me a lot more to get 3 $400 monitors, but take $100 off each one, and you could get 3 monitors for the price of one really nice.
Oh, well, if you're putting one monitor off if you're using it just for like wraparound gaming or something silly, then who cares if there's a couple of stuck pixels on the left one
when
or
you
the
have
right one?
3 monitors, it's pretty insane. And then so I did that a couple months ago and bought mine and have been really happy with it. Other than the fact that it puts out a little electronic hum.
A buzzing noise?
A little buzzing noise, specifically on real white screen.
Okay.
And in doing some more research recently, I've actually read about like some Asus monitors do the same thing. So it is not, that's not a problem exclusive to the Koreans.
No, it's a common with cheap panels.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's probably my one drawback.
Is that from a lamp?
I researched it and I forget now what it's from. I think it is, I can't remember. I eliminated the power source. For a while I thought it might have to do with the power, and it was like a cheap power brick that caused it, but I think it's something in the panel, the way it displays. I don't know enough about the technology to know for sure, but that's kind of like, that kind of sucks, but it's not very loud, and if I'm ever listening to music or playing games or doing basically anything that creates noise, then I can't hear it. Or if I have headphones on, it's fine. So that's been pretty good.
So what if you want to do more, if you want to get a nicer 27-inch monitor?
So I just put up a wire cutter piece this week on that that I was researching last week, and Dell has a new ultra sharp out that is an LED 27-inch.
Ooh.
Great monitor. It's supposed to cost $800, but it's been on Amazon. The price has been fluctuating a lot, but it's been hitting $650.
Wow.
Which is a killer price for this monitor, because it's basically the same quality screen as the Koreans with all the bells and whistles.
When you say the Koreans, you mean the Korean monitors?
The Korean monitors,
okay.
Yes. Koreans are not LED displays.
Okay, that's important to note.
But it's got HDMI and DisplayPort.
So you can plug your consoles into it. Does it have audio out? Like, so when you plug HDMI in, can you pipe audio through there and then pipe it out to your speakers?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it does. It doesn't have built-in speakers, I don't think.
Because I know the 30-inch ones have like a RCA coax out, I think.
A lot of those also have like component and composite inputs and stuff, so this doesn't have that. This isn't their most expensive 27-inch. Like, they still have an older one that's the cold cathode backlight, and that has component input and all that stuff. So the trade-off is you're paying less, and you're actually getting a more power efficient, better screen because it's LED. It weighs half as much.
Is it a grid backlight so it can do selective dimming, or does it do? No, is it all the time?
I don't think so.
No,
nobody does that anymore, huh?
Not for that small size TV.
Just for big screens. Okay.
But you get the awesome resolution. It has USB 3 ports, which is nice.
Oh, that is nice.
And mainly, it's just a way lighter, more convenient monitor.
A memory card reader?
No memory card reader.
That's amazing, because I mean, the 30-inch panels that Norm and I have, I mean, mine was like $1,100 and it weighs probably 25 pounds.
Yeah.
It does have a memory card reader and USB ports and all that stuff, and the component inputs, which is nice. But I mean, I would actually, I think, rather have a 16:9 display at this point, and that's half the price.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little trade-off. You lose a couple of the premium features, but I think what you gain in the fact that the screen draws less power and it looks better.
Yeah. Have you actually tested that one, or did you just research it?
I've just researched it, but like all of these super in-depth guys like TFT Central and stuff have pretty much everybody has compared it very specifically to Dell's last 27-inch. And says it's better.
Says it's really good.
I think what it tells us is that these monitors, the panels cost that much, and they can sell them in the Korean models for about $400, and the Dell ones for $650, which means, at cost probably like $500. And maybe 3 years ago, they were selling for even the 27-inch for over $1,000 and $1,500 for 30-inch. 10 years ago, it was about $2,000 for 30-inch. So there might be a market now with inflation for a $1,500, $2,000, probably $1,500 monitor that's 4K resolution, 27-inch.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all if we see that in the next year.
I think 276099 is the way to go at that point. I don't see 30-inch being 30-inch is probably too big for a desk, but at that resolution, 4K 27-inch, $1,500.
Well, even when the 27-inch TVs launched and they were basically 1080p monitors, so they were essentially TVs with a slightly different, it's tuned a little bit differently. They were still way more expensive than these were. So it's really interesting. If you're looking for a monitor, it's nice because a 2560 by 1440 monitor will last you for a very long time.
I'm going to say, I don't think it'll last. You'll be happy with it, but
yeah.
I think the 4K one's going to be here in a year and a half.
Yeah, but they'll be the normal. I mean, the thing that's happening that's changing this is the higher resolution laptop displays are changing the dot pitch of the pixels on LCD panels.
And the OSs are getting better. Like obviously Mac can handle it. Windows still not so much.
Well, no, you have to scale everything up. That has unpredictable effects.
It does. Not polished for that, because we've run Windows on like the Retina laptops, and even scaling up the icons and text, it doesn't. There's things that don't look great.
I think that's an extreme example, though. If you sit with a 30-inch 2560 by 1600 panel close enough to you, it's really super usable.
Absolutely usable.
And awesome. I mean, it is. I have the same number of pixels on one 30-inch display as I had on two 24-inch displays 3 years ago.
More pixels, better. Yeah.
So you think in a few years, the 2560 27-inch monitor will be kind of a standard, and the 4K 27-inch will be the new.
Yeah, as long as OS supports it, and as long as enough bandwidth in the cable, which there is now, DisplayPort.
Yeah.
One other nice thing that Dell changed with the 27-inch is they lightened up their anti-glare a little bit, which I've never had a problem with, but I know some people really dislike.
It dims a little bit.
Yeah, they really dislike the anti-glare on their monitors. So it's still anti-glare, but less
quite as heavy. And of course, with modern LCD displays, there's not pixel response times and stuff like that. You get they're good for gaming.
They're only okay for gaming.
Okay.
You get two types of lag. There is still pixel response issues because it's IPS is part of the reason why. Like the TN panels, which are cheaper, lower quality video or lower quality image, but those are better for gaming. You have like 2 milliseconds.
But does that actually matter? Has anybody actually tested that?
So what you get with these 27-inch monitors between the input lag, and then you get lag also introduced from the scaler in the monitor.
Okay.
It comes out to, there's variation, but it comes out to about 1.5 frames, which is
assuming you're operating at 60 frames a second.
If you think it's 30.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but basically, it's not something that you're gonna really see if you're normal. If you're playing Counter-Strike and are getting
and are world class.
Yeah, if you're a world class Counter-Strike player, that's probably too much for you.
Okay. Same thing for StarCraft, I would assume.
StarCraft
doesn't matter.
I don't think so.
Refresh rate doesn't come into StarCraft.
It's all about strategy.
Okay. If you're playing fighting games and frame priority matters to you, then that's probably too much.
Okay.
But like I've played Borderlands on it and can't even see any lag, so it's not a big deal.
If you're a super competitive Rock Band Blitz player, you
have to be in a very, very small class of people who take that very seriously for it to matter.
And I mean, for me, I made the choice to go with IPS panels over TNs because of the color representation is much better on the IPS panels.
And viewing
I think you get more than you lose. So.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Han Solo blasters, Norm?
I think people just read the story.
Well, I think you should tell people why they should read the story.
I think it's an awesome story that's 6,400 words about Han Solo blaster. Why wouldn't you want to read it?
Okay, good enough. You want to talk about your photo project?
I have a photo project?
Yeah, your photo project. You posted about it yesterday or Monday.
Oh, you mean ongoing
column about photos?
Oh, so yeah, I'm running a regular column about photography. And what's leading up to buying a DSLR.
So what have you talked about so far, and what's coming up?
Just the introductions and what gear I use and what I am good at and not good at and what I hope to look
and what you want to learn.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of photographers out there.
There are a lot of people who take photos every day. Yeah. Do you want to talk about FTL, Wes?
Sure.
You've been playing FTL. Wes, have you played? Norm, have you played FTL?
I have not played FTL.
Oh, you should play FTL.
I was thinking about it yesterday after playing it once, but before I played it the next time, and just thinking about how I can't think of many games that have left me feeling so empty,
broken
after a run.
That's not what I want in games.
No, it's satisfying,
almost to a bad extent for me to this point. Like I think as I unlock more ships, it'll probably bother me less. But most games, when you fail horribly, you kind of get something at the end of it. And I felt like in FTL, I'll spend 40 minutes, actively enjoying it, which is good, and I should be able to have that be enough.
Yeah.
But then just have it taken away
instantly,
and just be back at the title screen and just be like, "Fuck!" Just close the game.
Doesn't save.
Well, it's a roguelike.
I think the Mac version maybe doesn't have like save and quit support.
No, you can save and quit.
Well, then something's messed up with my install because I can't.
Okay. So I was able to save and quit and I played almost exclusively the Mac version because I like to play FTL on airplanes. It's funny because you always like whenever you play FTL on airplanes on your laptop.
How long does the usual session go?
It can be anywhere from 3 minutes to 2 hours, maybe. Okay. So it's a good length. Like I think on a flight from Portland once I played probably 3 games as I was learning how to play. On the way back from New York, I played 2 games.
Can it come on iOS?
They are talking about it. It is a perfect iPad game.
It looks like it was designed for iOS.
Well, it's a kind of surprising system hog though. Like it's one of the only things I do on my MacBook that cranks up the fans, which is really weird because it's super 2D and kind of janky looking.
It probably comes down to the way it was coded.
I'm sure.
I'm guessing.
So it was a Kickstarter. It's a roguelike. The basic gist is that you are the captain of a starship, and your mission is to take the secret plans to a hidden rebel base on the far side of the galaxy.
Your mission is to go right, basically.
Yeah, go right. You're playing Mario Brothers with a spaceship, basically. But you control like the crewmen inside the ship. You assign them to stations. It kind of has like a little bit of an X-wing TIE fighter thing where you have to balance different systems against each other and manage power.
Yeah, it's a roguelike because it is more. It's like half sim in the framework of a roguelike.
Well, it's roguelike in the same way that XCOM is kind of like a roguelike if you play it on Iron Man. In that you get one save, you get each game is essentially a life, and you loop around.
It's the same mission every time.
Same. The details, like the goal to go right and fight a bad guy is the same. The layout of the worlds that you encounter, the systems that you go through. There's probably a half dozen archetypes of systems. Would you say?
And how long would it take to beat it?
If
you were to beat it.
It literally, like other roguelikes, it depends on how the first 20 to 30 minutes go a lot of times. Although you can dig out of a hole pretty easily.
You could beat it in an hour.
Yeah.
If you have a perfect run. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you guys beat it?
I've gotten to the end boss probably 3 times.
Wow.
It is very difficult.
I've gotten to the end boss twice.
And
I'm still playing on easy.
Yeah, I'm playing on easy too.
And I've only been playing it since I've played probably a dozen games.
So when you play on easy, when you play the game, you should buy it. It's like $10. It's great.
The reason I picked it up was because it was $6 over the weekend.
Even better.
It might still be on sale. I'm not sure.
You should start on easy because the way the power curve and progression works is you unlock new ships by completing tasks in game, almost like achievement style tasks. Some of them will be unlocked by completing quests. I would encourage you after you've played it once or twice to go learn how to do that because you're going to have a really hard time progressing with the base ship, I think, until you are much better mechanically at the game. Do not play that game on normal if you haven't unlocked other ships and you don't know how it works because it is a horrible experience. You need to work up to that. That is something that is a goal, not where you start. Easy should be the default.
Yeah, after playing, I started on easy and then I played a few normal games and pretty quickly came to the realization that I'm sure it's possible to beat it with the starting ship on normal, but you would have to be very lucky
and know exactly what to do. Yeah, the fault with the game is that a lot of times the things that happen, in a roguelike, a lot of the...
You learn as you go?
No, it's not even that. Yeah, there's a limited number of events, things that happen, whether it's finding an enemy ship or rescuing somebody from an asteroid field or being boarded by pirates. Like once you know what the different things are that can happen and you know how to approach them, the game gets a lot easier. It just becomes then about executing well. But until you understand the different things that can happen, you're going to have a hard time, especially on the higher difficulty
Well, and
levels.
It is still very much risk-reward. I mean, I find myself, you'll come across an abandoned space station. It's like, do you want to beam down and explore it? And I know exactly what the options are. The options are I find something good and just leave.
Yeah.
Or there's a disease there and it just kills one of my crew members.
And crew members are super valuable.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it. Or a choice pops up.
Dog-sized spiders.
And after that choice comes up, you could gain or lose something.
Yeah.
But even knowing the risks of those things doesn't really help you inform your decision other than do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's worth the risk? Because it's always a risk-reward trade-off. And I usually end up going for it, save the civilian or whatever.
Yeah, why not? What could possibly go wrong?
And then you die.
No, be selfish.
Space plague. In a lot of ways, it mirrors Walking Dead because you end up making a lot of those risk-reward choices in that game as well. The only other thing I would say is it's a real-time game, but you can pause and issue orders at any time. I would strongly encourage people to treat it as a turn-based game and just pause the shit out of it all the time. Makes it much easier and much more manageable. It gives you time to think about stuff too.
Have you guys heard of Spaceteam?
I have not heard of Spaceteam.
Gary told me about this, and he hasn't tried it. I think he tried it with Leah. It's an iOS app. It's free, and it can only be played with 2 to 4 players.
Ooh, we have 2 to 4 players
over Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Or
we have
Bluetooth.
Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
And basically, it is you simulate the bridge of a ship, and each person who plays has a different console.
Is it Artemis?
It is not Artemis. Artemis is out for iOS. This is different.
Oh, okay.
This is called Spaceteam, but then the things that you have scenarios. I think one scenario is free. You can buy more scenarios. But each of the 4 people, up to 4 people play a role, but your console has weird names. So things that happen on screen, you have to yell out, turn the thingamajig, flip up to the fragmifier to level 5.
So like you'll get an order on your screen, but it's an order that Wes has to complete.
Yep.
Fascinating.
It's a bridge of a ship.
I would like to play this game.
I've seen a few people tweet about it.
It's free.
Artemis is out too.
Artemis is out. That's a larger
Starship
endeavor.
Bridge simulator. I don't know how that works on iOS.
I think.
Oh, you
try that
training
first,
wheels,
and then work on communication skills.
Okay.
And then do Artemis.
Can we play poker with our iPhones?
We could also play poker with our iPhones.
Why would you do that?
Every phone is a card.
Every phone.
Really?
No, every phone.
Shuffle?
There is an app for that.
Now. Really?
Yeah.
Every phone is a different card?
Yeah.
That's terrible. Did you see that augmented reality video from TED? The guy doing card tricks using augmented reality glasses? That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. I've been spending a lot of time with Adam's Replicator too. Like I'm
looking at it right now.
Yeah, he bought it because he saw the video with Bree where he's like, it's so easy to use, anybody can use it. You just take it out of the box and you're printing within minutes.
You might have seen it in a past episode of Still Entitled.
Yeah, it was on the desk at M5 I think once, taking the place of the lion head. So yeah, he bought it and thought, oh, okay, well I had a Thingamatic. It was okay, but it was kind of a kit. It was more for learning about 3D printers than actually 3D printing stuff, which is pretty parallel with our experience with the Thingamatic. Yep. The Replicator was definitely better. Like the lessons that we learned with the Cupcake and the Thingamatic, the first 2 MakerBots, definitely parlayed into being able to print much better stuff with the Replicator than we'd ever been able to print before. But I hadn't really sat down and thought about what coming into a Replicator 2 was going to be like for somebody who'd never operated a 3D printer before.
Or even someone who's super smart.
Yeah, but who has CAD experience and has done CNC milling and stuff like that. Has similar skills applied in a different way, in an additive rather than reductive way. And Adam got super frustrated. Like super duper frustrated with it.
Were the instructions not good enough? So
he had some out of the box problems, like it didn't have the memory card that the specific. I have a whole post coming up about this. It'll be up on probably Friday or Monday. The instructions weren't particularly good. I mean, there's an instruction manual that's really good about how to take out of the box. He missed a key part of that instruction and set it up a little, just the tiniest bit wrong. In such a way that it just applied tension to the print head as it was moving to the extremities of the platform. And that caused it to cause alignment error. So as the layers would go, as you'd put a layer down, it would be just a little bit off from the one below. Skewed. And then pretty soon there'd be a big gloopy mess glued on the bottom of the print head. The software is super easy for me to use at this point because I've been using Replicator G and it has 35,000 options to control the different settings of your 3D print, and Makerware has 5, and I understand what they all mean, and it's a lot easier to use. I also understand the difference between the slicing engines that they use. So Makerware includes this thing called Miracle Grew, which is their own homegrown slicer, which is pretty good for quick and dirty stuff, but it's not going to produce 0.1 millimeter resolution prints.
Is that for internal supports as well?
It'll do internal supports. External supports are a little bit weird. It doesn't do external supports in the way that, say, the Form 1 showed in that video that we shot with the Form 1, and they showed, yeah, you just put the supports on and then it puts the stuff that it needs to hang it off the platform as it's printing. Doesn't do that at all. So he got frustrated with the software. He didn't know the difference between SkyneForge and Miracle Grew. SkyneForge give you much higher quality print, but it also takes a couple of orders of magnitude more time. So if a Miracle Grew slice takes 4 minutes, the SkyneForge one can take an hour or more. And it takes a long time to get from 0 to 1%. So he thought the app had just crashed and kept restarting it, which then caused a whole series of other problems. So he said, just take this, do what you want with it. I may or may not. I'm probably going to sell it or get rid of it or send it back or something. I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah. He also has not.
He doesn't have a lot of time to fiddle with stuff like this.
Other people would have.
Yeah. I mean, I've sunk a lot of time into it.
But even spending the time with that and having all the time you would to do it the perfect way, do you get a more satisfactory product than you would with the Replicator 1?
So I haven't done direct side-by-side comparisons. At some point, we'll set up a race and do Replicator 1 versus Replicator 2
in the optimal
side-by-side. Yeah, like for both quick and dirty, because I think that's important for, like, if you look at a lot of the stuff that I printed, like the Tetris pieces, which were really useful.
Quick and dirty
was fine for them.
Yep.
Adam wanted to print a little R2D2 model, and I think he had actually made the 3D files, or maybe he downloaded Thingiverse, I don't know. Printing that in the quick and dirty looked like shit.
Yeah.
Like really bad. Printing it in the 0.1 millimeter resolution looks, it's still not great, but it's okay. You can tell it's R2D2 for sure.
There's a reason they use that translucent plastic color. Well, it hides a lot of the imperfections.
So there's a whole other thing about that I discovered while I was looking into, because I've never really printed at 0.1 microns or 100 microns. I've always printed at 0.27 millimeters, which is about double the 2.5 times the height. When the default temperature settings for PLA on the MakerBot are around 230 degrees Celsius. The optimal printing temperature for PLA to maintain like really, really precise detail is about 190, 180 degrees. You want it to transition to melted and then transition back to solid instantly when it hits the air. And that'll keep it from warping and bending and making little ripples and stuff like that. And they don't ever explain. They explain that in the documentation online as of middle of last week when they updated the online documentation. But up until that point, the only place you would find that information out is by going to message boards or Google groups or something like that. So, I came in and I talked to Adam about it a fair amount and walked him through a bunch of stuff and then came at this as if I were a new user who hadn't spent any time 3D printing. And I think it really falls down dramatically in the anybody can be 3D printing in no time. I think if you're a designer and you've worked with 3D printers before and you kind of know what they are and aren't capable of, you probably have a pretty good experience. But if you're a dude who wants to get a 3D printer so his kids can make models in 123D Design or SketchUp or something like that and then print them, you're probably going to be a little frustrated unless those kids are old enough and patient enough that they're going to be able to troubleshoot it on their own. Because the other problem is experimentation has a really high time cost. Mm-hmm. If it takes an hour or 2 hours to slice a complex model, and then it takes 6 hours to print that, like the most you're going to be able to do is maybe 2 or 3 a day to test different settings and all that. And if changing something as minor as changing the temperature requires another hour and a half slicing run, which it does, then that's pretty frustrating. So yeah, that'll be up on Monday. You should read it. It's long.
Would you say the MakerBot software is the biggest improvement to ease of use from the Replicator 1 to 2?
Probably the build plate leveling stuff is significantly.
Is that 4 screws?
It's only 3 screws now. Which is important because when you level the Replicator 1, first you level it front and back. So you do the back screws and the front screws. You can do those independently because it doesn't matter. You have 2 nozzles to check on. You can measure left nozzle, right nozzle, and once they match, you're good. But then when you do the right side and the left side, you don't have 2 points to check anymore because the print heads are parallel on the x-axis, not the y-axis. So when you adjust the left and right sides, you have to turn both the screws at the same time, the same amount. They don't ever really explicitly say that. That's something I had to figure out. And once I did that, getting the build platform level was much, much easier. However, it's like a lot of other stuff. It's stuff that they expect you to know because you've been 3D printing for a while. And I don't want to alarm you guys, but maybe they've sold 8,000. There's probably 10 or 15,000 consumer level 3D printers out in the wild today. That means everybody has no experience with 3D printing at this point, for the most part. So like that kind of documentation stuff, they really need to get some real thick skull, dim-witted people in there to and watch how they use this, and then
UX.
adjust the experience accordingly. So yeah, I mean, I don't want people to think I'm down on 3D printing or MakerBot. I think they've done, like, looking at where they've been, where they've come in 3 years is amazing. Like, it is.
Will it ever be able to print a person?
Oh God. But the point is, it doesn't meet the promise of. It's as if you went and bought an Apple II today in 1981 and suddenly thought you were going to be operating all of your business stuff on it. Payroll, spreadsheets,
that's
word
exactly
processors.
what happened, though. People bought those Apple computers and they couldn't do all that stuff.
Right. That is exactly what happened.
The analogy for the Apple moment
is pretty true.
Yeah, people just don't remember back then. Computers sucked.
It's the Apple II moment, not the Macintosh moment.
Okay.
Is what I would say. So yeah, but on the other hand, they're also iterating the software every week. Yeah. So I mean, Makerware gets better every week.
Yeah, deployment and development just much faster.
I think that had they not made you can be printing in minutes and everybody can be a 3D printer video that sold a really specific message that I think is not true, we wouldn't be having
kids
this conversation.
In that video, like printing?
No, it's just Bree holding a MakerBot like a boombox.
I can print toys.
I know. I hope it's not like a Fisher-Price commercial.
Dude, I still want to see what happens when you give a 12-year-old a 3D printer. And
I think 12-year-olds will surprise you.
That's what I'm saying. I think 12-year-olds are. I think if you have a kid who grows up with 3D printers the way we grew up with computers, the whole thing changes. Because the tools, the one thing I'm shocked by is how easy the tools for 3D modeling are compared to what they were 10 years ago. When you're talking about SketchUp or 123D design, you literally take a 2D image. I don't think you can scan it, but you just draw it out with simple to use stuff. You can extrude it out, you can carve it, you can shape it, you can cut holes out of it. It's super duper easy. And if you have time to fiddle with that and learn how it works, then I mean, that's the thing that I don't have is time to spend 40 hours learning how to do 3D modeling a week. And if you're 12, then you probably can carve 30 hours out of your time. So anyway, that's what we've been testing. What do you say we do couple questions and call it a show?
Emails? Well, but we do the other one.
Emails.
We don't do emails. We do
emails.
No. Questions. Boom.
Our first question is about movies. If you have a question and you would like it answered on This Is Only Tested, the email address is podcast@tested.com. Keep it short, under 45 seconds. Make it sure it doesn't sound like you're recording it from a public restroom inside some sort of like running of the bulls or something like that. We want it to sound like the podcast when you listen to it. Here is our first question. It's about The Hobbit.
Hi, Tested Crew. Long-time listener and first-time questioner. First, of would you rather? Bodily health aside, would you rather go a year without meat or alcohol? On to my question. I've been trying to look up showtimes for the Hobbit opening. The high frame rate version sounds interesting, but I can't seem to find any showings that are not also in 3D. Is the high frame rate version only available in 3D? If so, has the technology improved past the poor saturation and headache-inducing nature? Thanks, and always be testing.
I would go without alcohol happily.
Without alcohol, easy.
Yeah,
easy. Meat is
every
essential.
day.
No choice there.
We're a lot of fun at parties.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the story is with the Hobbit showings. I've looked around here, and like the Metreon showing seems to not be 48 frames a second.
You don't go to the theater. You go to the theater. Do not go to like check Fandango,
okay.
And I mean they will list, but go to like Lowe's and go to AMC. And
go to the theater chain homepage,
and they will have a list there.
So
that will tell you which theater.
It's not being distributed in 48 FPS 2D. Period.
No,
not because it's not possible. The distributor chose to not do that.
Yeah.
Well, the decision matrix on that gets a little scary if they
paying premium already, and I think it's be confusing for people to have options of 2D, 3D
high frame rate,
exactly
3D high frame rate,
3 SKUs.
And there's kind of, I think it's only about 5% of theaters actually support the 48 FPS showings.
So there's a hardware limitation, or is it just like a software on the
it's a projector?
Okay,
projector limitation.
So I'm not sure exactly if it's a projector limitation, because from what I've been doing some reading related to this recently, and a lot of projectors, digital projectors,
like DLP projectors theoretically should have the capability.
They
to do this.
They actually, even when you see a 24 frame per second movie, they are displaying 144 frames per second.
Which is an even no, that's not even multiple, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Because it's
12 times
so they
2
show
times
5 frames, and that is a Flickr illumination technique.
Oh.
So it's like, I'm not sure exactly where why it's such a limited release in 48 FPS.
So is it 48 FPS and then you see 48 FPS, which is then doubled for 3D? So it's actually doing double that.
Is it 48? Is it 48 frames per second per eye, or is it 24 frames a second?
No, I
per
think
eye?
it's 48 per eye. If it was 24 per eye, then it'd be just looking like a regular movie. There'd be no point in showing it in 3D.
Well, it would look like a regular 2D movie.
It's just
in
like
3D.
3D movies in 24 FPS are not 12 frames per eye. They're 24 per eye. 12 frames per eye would be slow as hell.
Yeah, that's true.
It'd be incredibly flickery.
I mean, it could just be that the version of VLC or Windows Media Player Classic or whatever it is they use to play the movies doesn't support 48 frames a second.
I think it's probably partially.
I don't think they use.
I would like
VLC
to know more about
obviously
this.
like no analog projectors.
Yeah.
No film projectors are doing it. It's all. It's all the digital projectors. So that eliminates plenty of theaters. And then from there, I'm not sure if it's probably theaters with older digital projectors or the wrong kinds can't do it. But I did read that at least I think at least a few theaters are showing IMAX 3D 48 FPS.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow!
And IMAX is not digital.
It's film.
Right. So there must be 48 FPS film copies, but I think that is
Well, the monkey just goes twice as fast when he cranks the thing, right?
So that is definitely exclusive to IMAX now. It's possible there could be a 48 FPS 2D release, but I'm guessing that would be for the next version, maybe, if they even choose to do that.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm kind of curious what the difference is between the regular 48 FPS 3D and the IMAX in terms of
Projecting.
Yeah, are you guys going to see it twice?
No.
Are you going to see 48 frames a second, or are you going to go
48.
IMAX?
48.
I'm not even sure I want to see it.
Well, Wes, I'm going to just carry on before you get controversial here. Next question is about school. I just clicked the wrong place.
Hey, Testa crew. My name is Allison, and I'm from Winchester, Virginia. A piece of hometown trivia, Winchester has the largest firemen's parade in the world. For those who don't know, this is a parade where firefighters get to show off their Dalmatians and fancy fire truck accessories. My question for you comes from my 8th grade class, who loves your slow motion videos. After watching your liquid nitrogen video, I had a student ask what would happen if you submerged your hand in a vat of liquid nitrogen. Would you be able to shatter your hand like the rock in chicken breast as shown in your video? Or would your pumping blood be enough to stave off the shattering effect? And finally, a would you rather. Would you rather get stuck on an elevator for 5 hours or a ski lift for 5 hours? Thanks, and always be testing.
I have been stuck in a ski lift for 5 hours.
For 5 hours, I've only been on for an hour, but it was pretty bad.
I had a friend who jumped and broke his leg.
Which was both or just one?
One leg.
Yeah, you don't jump off the ski
The
lift.
answer is do not jump off the ski lift.
Right.
You just hold on.
Here, the benefit
Wait.
of being on the ski lift is that if you need to pee, you don't have to pee in a sealed box. You can just let fly
That is
off
true.
the edge of the
There
ski
was
lift.
the New Yorker story, a long story about the guy who was stuck in the elevator for like 2 days.
Oh, God.
And no one knew, and he sued, and I think he went crazy, and
Yeah, that broke him.
it totally broke him, and it was a tragic story at the end, but there was a time-lapse video of him stuck in the elevator because they had close-to-see cameras. Obviously, no one saw that, but at the time...
Well, you hope no one saw that at the time, because
Yeah.
otherwise they're dicks.
Security guards just sitting there spinning the
But
keys.
he would open the
watching.
door, pull open the
Like
door.
the inside door?
and then pee, and then close the door.
Oh, you just pee down the hole?
Pull down the hole.
Wow, that seems like a... Wow, you think somebody would notice the pee
Well,
smell coming out of the elevator door?
No one's in the elevator shaft. It was over a weekend.
Oh.
First of all, it's very terrifying that 8th grade students are watching these videos.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that there are kids in Winchester watching you get hit in the face with the water balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents saw that
class.
movie.
In
How did
class.
what did your parents say?
They saw it on Facebook. It trickled down to their level of Facebook.
wow.
And it was it was bad.
Oh, wow.
Why would you let yourself get hit in the face by a balloon? My friends are telling me my son is an idiot.
Well, it's for science, Mom. That's what I tell my
It's a
mom.
fun conversation.
Yeah, sorry about that, Norm.
The answer is it depends how long you keep your hand in the water. There are
liquid
videos.
nitrogen.
There are videos of people dipping their hands in liquid nitrogen quickly and then removing them. That's a bad idea. Don't do that.
Yeah, it's actually an effect. What happens because liquid nitrogen is so cold, when you put something warm into it, it creates a cushion of gas around as the nitrogen boils off. The cushion of gas forms around it. It actually insulates your hand
For just a little bit.
just a tiny bit of time. If the liquid nitrogen actually that's when you pour liquid nitrogen on the top of your hand and it pulls off. then what's happening is it's riding a cushion of gas, just like when you pour liquid water on a hot skillet and it skates across the top of the skillet. The downside of sticking your hand in liquid nitrogen is that as soon as that cushion of gas goes away, your skin is being exposed to super duper cold temperatures, negative 200 Celsius.
Your cells explode.
They freeze and rupture. Yeah. You're going to get frostbite almost instantly. It will probably take a few minutes. I would think more than you could keep your hand, like unless your hand was clamped into the thing or frozen on the bottom or something really terrible happened, it would be really hard to actually keep your hand in.
So did you not see Sunshine?
I didn't. What about the movie?
The movie. The Dune hand test.
Yeah, it's the fear is the mind killer, except for in this case, your hand is being frozen solid. You don't want to do that. It's a real bad idea. But yeah, if you left it in there for a couple of minutes, like we did with the chicken breast, and then took your hand out, put it on something solid, hit it with a mallet, it would shatter. Blood pumping is not going to do any good at all. It is really, really cold.
You know, fear is just a thing you create in the mind. Danger is real.
You know where we are, right? Earth. And that'll do it for questions this week. Again, if you have a question for This Is Only Test, the email address is podcast@tested.com. We do not want to play questions. That question was borderline. I apologize if you had trouble with the audio listening. Make sure your question sounds good. Play it. It should sound like the podcast. That's the easiest thing to do. Don't record it on a public bus. Don't record it in a submarine. Don't record it in some sort of slaughterhouse or someplace where there's weird noise in the background.
But Will, I like submarines and slaughterhouses.
I do too, but those are bad places to record video. It's like the deck of an aircraft carrier. It turns out that's a loud place to be, even if it's not an aircraft carrier that's being used to launch airplanes. So anyway, we'll be back next week with another episode of This Is Only Test. Wes, your work can be found on websites such as tested.com and The Wirecutter.
Yes.
Anything you'd like to plug that you haven't already plugged?
No, we're good.
People should read your Pixar story. Your story about making 3D versions of Finding Nemo. It was quite entertaining.
Also, your Voxel story.
Very interesting. Oh, Voxel story is good too.
I really like the Voxel one, and those are games that I'm super excited about.
There you go.
There will be more about the monitor stuff in the
Thursday.
near future.
By the time this podcast is out.
Everybody should take a half hour and read Norm's treatise on the Han Solo DL-44 blaster. It's quite entertaining. And I guarantee you will learn something. And we will be back with another episode of This Is Only a Test next week. Today's outro comes to us from EvilMax17. I might have played this one last week, but I don't know. We'll see you guys next week. Stay tuned for fake outtakes. Hi there, I didn't see you. Tested. It's a pretty good noise, Norm.
It's ridiculous. Did we use that last week?
Been there, done that.
I think we used that last week.
I'll play another.
I'll
play another.
It's still a pretty good one.
I've got more. I can play these all day. We've got hundreds.
You think Vader wears a cup? I think he does. Yeah, I mean, some kid's going to walk up and kick him in the balls. Yeah. I would tell my kid to do that.
That's an oldie.
Yeah.
That's a real oldie.
Somebody dug deep cuts here on This Is Only a Test.
Deep.
Are we still going to AJ's for lunch today?
AK subs. What's the best pastrami? Let's talk about pastrami and cheese and sandwiches. I just want to go get sandwiches.
Well, I think we have to suffer a little bit first for the art.
Oh,
it's a segment of the show, Norm. You can't just not do it because you're hungry.
I think it gets integrated into the show.
So hungry.
I like the crispy bits of pastrami.
We can talk about going to Adam's house. I don't want to do that.
I feel like we should, though. I feel like not talking about going to Adam's house is probably doing a disservice.
But we're going to do videos from Adam's house.
Yeah, we will do a tour. We went to Adam gave us the grand tour last. How
much are we allowed to say? It's his personal.
Well, we actually put some bank stuff on the internet. So I mean, at this point, what's going to happen?
Adam's house is great because it's very much Adam Savage's personality, but not in the same way that you normally think as Adam. If you've seen his office at M5, it's messy and there's tons of stuff and drawings on whiteboards, and that's very much an Adam Savage that you get. The persona
that's
you get
unfiltered Savage
from
that's what we should call
from
the
Mythbusters.
Podcast.
If you watch Mythbusters, that's the Adam, great at drawing diagrams and everything, and tons of experiments everywhere. That's at M5. At the Cave, it's the Adam that we've come to know from Tested and doing all
it's RPF Adam.
That's pure. That all this collector stuff, and it's awesome, and I love that Adam. And then Home Adam it's still very much Adam, but it's a completely different Adam.
Well, and it's Dad Adam and dog owner Adam and like Adam who eats food. I don't think we've ever seen Adam eat food, have we?
I don't think so.
I mean, I've seen him drink. For all we know, he could be a robot.
I just want to say I'm really creeped out right now by your divisions of
the 3 Adams,
the levels of Adam that you've gradually come to know.
There's a lot of Adam. Adam brings high intensity to pretty much everything he does.
I guess we can talk about the one thing I would like to talk about, because we're not going to do a video of this, at least not initially, is his library.
The library, as somebody who just divested himself of all of his paper books except for a very small number of sentimental value books, I'm super jealous of the library.
Yeah, so you had a wall in your house, in your guest room.
2 walls.
2 walls of bookshelves that you kept books and board games and stuff.
Mostly books, yeah.
And you got rid of all of that.
Well, I kept the board games.
Kept the board games, dumped all the books.
Not all of them,
because it's the baby's room.
That became the baby's room because we have a 1,000 square foot house, and like it was either the office or the room with the books, and the office I use every day, and the room with the books stays closed unless the dog needs to go in there.
Yep.
So it was an easy decision. And then we were faced with do you keep all the books and just put them in boxes and then hope that they're going to be good? And about that time I wanted to reread American God, so I went to Amazon and I bought it for the Kindle because I didn't want to deal with it carrying paper around with me. And I realized, no, I'm not going to. If I pack these books up in boxes and put them in the garage, I'm just going to have to move a whole fuckload of boxes every time I move for the rest of my life. So we sold probably 3 boxes of books to a local used bookstore.
Very good.
And I took the rest to the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library because the Pacifica Library doesn't take donated books.
Wow.
And Friends of the San Francisco Public Library was like, oh my God, this is so many books. You guys are assholes. And we came, like, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, it's harsh judgment when you go to Friends of the San Francisco Public Library with 10 boxes of books and they're actually good books. Like, the guy was flipping through was like, are you sure you want to get rid of this? I was like, yeah, we want to, yeah. We're digital now. And then I really got the stink. Like, I got the stink eye when I rolled in with a bunch of books because I think they thought we were getting rid of our dad's, dead parents' books or something. But then when I told them I was transitioning to digital, they were like, no, you're a fucking asshole. Anyway.
When I worked at the library, we just sold those books that people brought in.
Well, that's what they did in my public library when I was. That's what San Francisco does. The Friends of the Public Library sells them.
Yeah, they're like we'd usually sell them for. We had a lot of books we just sell for like 25 cents or 50 cents.
Or something. Oh, that's good.
So we rolled in on accidentally the busiest day of the year when they were doing their Friends of the Public Library super duper book sale, where the most expensive thing in the store was suddenly $1. So it was not a good day to drop off 10 or 12 boxes of books, it turns out. But I don't have any books anymore.
Okay. Adam has a ton of books.
Adam has a lot of books.
He has a room in his house where all the walls are bookshelves.
And they're super organized, which I really appreciate.
Really tremendously organized. And then in the center of the room
are we going to talk about Winston?
We're going to talk about Winston.
I love Winston.
Several chairs. There's one chair that has a taxidermied fox on it. A pliable taxidermy fox.
No, that fox...
You can position him in any position,
yeah, when you shot...
Which is creepy.
When you shot... What was it you shot on the pool table last time we were over there? I don't think it's up yet.
I don't know if the fox was
the fox was he was originally going to put the fox behind you and there was no place to put it, okay. So it ended up
so it might be
I
one
ended
of the
up
videos.
Sitting with it on my hand the entire time.
It's
I was
very
shooting.
creepy. It's a really creepy taxidermy fox.
No, it's a good taxidermy fox, but it is the kind of taxidermy that I find super creepy.
I think taxidermy in general is kind of creepy.
I would have Winston in my house.
Well, it's fascinating, but the mental, like, getting past the idea that this used to be a living thing that's skin.
Yeah.
And now is stuffed.
Well, and one of his dogs jumped up on the other chair opposite the fox. I was like, this is really uncomfortable.
Yeah, so
do you think the dog realizes?
On one chair was the taxidermy fox. On the other chair was dog, well-behaved, and it's like 2 animals just sitting there. And in between them was on a platform.
Hold on. I just want to say this is, I think, I've seen a fair amount of taxidermy in the part of the country I grew up. This is the best piece of taxidermy I've ever seen.
In a private residence.
Yeah, that wasn't like a stuffed woolly mammoth in the Smithsonian or something like that. Yes.
In
small scale, something you could have.
Public institution.
Yes.
It was a taxidermied beaver.
Yes.
In a pose that was so earnest,
pensive,
and had the perfect expression,
introspective.
And its name is Winston.
Yeah, his name.
His name is Winston.
Yes.
And the first, there's a great story behind Winston.
We'll talk about him in the future, I hope.
But it was awesome.
You and I had immediately the same reaction when we were talking about Winston with Adam, because you said
you should put clothes on him.
Yeah, you said he needs a vest.
He needs a vest,
and I thought he needs a vest and a hat and maybe a cane.
And it turns out
Adam has plans. He has hats. He's getting a vest, and he has plans for a cane.
Yep.
We sound like lunatics right now, I know, but Winston is the least creepy piece of taxidermy I've ever seen.
When Norm said that, my exact first thought was that is a great name.
It's the beaveriest beaver name you've ever seen.
Perfect beaver name.
Yeah.
He looks like the beaver on the cover of that Jodie Foster narrated Beavers documentary from like 10 years ago. It's on Netflix. You should watch it. It's really good.
Is that why she made the movie called The Beaver?
Oh wait, maybe it's not a Jodie Foster narrated.
I think you
Hold
just.
on. I might have just transposed.
Right there.
Hold on.
The Mel Gibson comeback movie.
It is not nothing to do with that. This is Beavers 1988. Wow, it's really old. It's 30 minutes, and it's
what you used to watch in school in science class.
Really?
On a rainy day.
Oh, we never watched. We always had film strips. We didn't have actual video where I went to school. It is. Oh God, there's no list of people. The cast. Earl Pennington is the narrator. It is not Jodie Foster.
Not Jodie Foster.
Okay. Cool story.
And with that, let's get some lunch.
You really want to get sandwiches now?
I absolutely want to get sandwiches.
Can we talk about the storied career of Earl Pennington for a little bit?
I don't know who that is.
He was in Happy Birthday to Me, 1981. It looks like a horror movie themed around birthdays. He was in Praise of Older Women, which looks a little racy. And then he was in a bunch of stuff that doesn't have cover art on IMDb.
Older women do need more praise.
Well, explain, Norm. I don't understand what that means.
I mean, respected.
Okay.
Respect your elders.
There you go. So yeah,
some of them are moms.
That'll do it for us. We'll see you guys next week. Are we going to do a show next week? I guess we should.
You already promised it.
Did we?
Yeah, we're going to do a show next week. It's the week after that we might not do a show.
Oh, right.
The week between Christmas and New Year's.
We need to get Gary in for one more episode for the end of the year before we can do predictions. Because we did predictions last year, and
can we revisit them?
We should revisit them with Gary because Gary was involved in it. Or we could spend this time and talk about.
Has it been a year since my predictions?
Do you want to? Do you want to talk about projections now?
No. Let's wait till Gary's here.
Yeah, we got to have Gary here for predictions.
Oh my goodness, I'm excited.
You said a lot of really crazy stuff, and some of it was right. I think you might have been the big winner on predictions 2012.
No shit.
It was close.
See you guys.
Yeah, bye.